Chapter 462. Can't die, why? The others all looked at Yan Qingyi at the same time. Yan Qishan asked in surprise. Yan Qingyi's expression did not change, and said calmly, because there are more important things waiting for him in the future. The expressions of the few of them became strange, but only Yan Poshan's expression became serious, and asked, Qingyi, did you sense something? When Yan Qishan and Yan Luyun heard this, their eyes instantly widened. Regarding Yan Qingyi, this was a huge secret of the Yan family, and outsiders had no way of knowing about it. Outsiders only thought that Yan Qingyi was a monk, and many of them were still regretting that such a beautiful woman who was born in a famous family was actually a monk. It was truly inconceivable. These people did not know that there was a very important reason why Yan Qingyi had become a monk. Yan Qingyi had been incomparably intelligent since she was young. She seemed to know many things that ordinary people thought were incomparably profound, and had great wisdom and comprehension ability. Yan Qingyi had refused to learn martial arts since she was young. Even if others ordered her to practice martial arts, she would never obey. Later on, it was left unsettled. Therefore, she did not have any martial arts at all. This was an anomaly in the Yan family. Yan Qingyi had an innate closeness to Taoist scriptures, unlike other girls who loved to dress up and fashion. Instead, she was immersed in Taoist scriptures all day long. In the end, unknowingly, she actually had a kind of epiphany. She had a kind of foresight ability. Of course, not everything could be foreseen, but on many important matters, she would have a trace of foresight. However, this kind of ability could be said to be heaven-defying and difficult to deal with. It was one of the biggest secrets of the Yan family, so Yan Padian would only agree if Yan Qingyi chose to become a monk. Before Yan Poshan's birthday banquet, Yan Qingyi returned to the capital and told him that there would be a change in the birthday banquet, and that a person would appear out of nowhere. Later on, this matter was confirmed. The person who had appeared out of nowhere was Tang Zheng. Moreover, he had soared to the heavens at the speed of a rocket. At this point, Yan Padian was even more convinced of Yan Qingyi's ability to predict the future. It was a blessing for the Yan family to have such a person, but it could also be said to be a very dangerous thing. This kind of mysterious and miraculous thing could easily make people associate it with the miraculous abilities of Shouja. If a cultivator appeared in the Yan family, it would definitely not be a good thing for the Yan family. Perhaps they would meet with a calamity. Of course, if a family had someone who could predict the future, then many things could be arranged in advance. The early bird catches the worm, and this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Yan Qingyi said indifferently, there will be a great disaster for humanity in the future. Tang Zheng might be the one to turn the tide. Catastrophe? The three of them sucked in a breath of cold air at the same time. This was an important piece of news. Yan Padian asked in a deep voice, what disaster? Yan Qingyi shook his head, this is just a very vague feeling, I am not sure about the specifics for now, but this disaster concerns the life and death of millions of people. You're saying that Tang Zheng will be the savior of this disaster? Yan Qishan was bewildered. No matter how he listened to it, he felt that it was like a fairy tale. Yan Qingyi nodded solemnly. Yan Luyun had a complicated expression on his face. They were both young people, but why was the difference so great? He asked, what other calamities will there be in this world? Could it be World War III? If there is a world war, what's the use of him alone? Yan Qishan scoffed, obviously not believing him. I don't know either. In short, this is a disaster that concerns the survival of humanity. This is what I sensed, so it definitely won't be wrong. Yan Qingyi was extremely confident. Yan Qishan and Yan Luyun looked at Yan Padian at the same time. His two white eyebrows knitted together, and only after a long while did he say, could it be that the survival of humanity is ultimately decided by a cultivator? Yeah, this is too unbelievable. Yan Qishan also felt that it was inconceivable, moreover, it's impossible for the martial sect to let him go, right? Can he live until then? Yan Qingyi stopped talking and closed her eyes again. Perhaps she was too lazy to explain. Yan Padian did not force him, but his eyes kept changing, and said, Qingyi, in the future, will this world no longer be dominated by martial artists? When Yan Qishan and Yan Luyun heard this question, their expressions suddenly changed, as if they had seen a ghost. Their eyes revealed shock, and Yan Qishan could not help but exclaim, "How is this possible?" Yan Qingyi still had her eyes closed and did not reply. Yan Padian understood clearly, this was because she did not know the answer to this question. The ability to predict the future was not enough to know everything, many things were just a trace of comprehension, a flash of inspiration. Yan Qishan shook his head, impossible, although a few cultivator experts have appeared, they can't mess up the overall situation, how can they make the martial artists lose their position as the ruler? Although Yan Luyun was the head of the 4 young masters of the capital, these things had completely exceeded his imagination, causing him to feel that his brain was not enough. Unless the cultivator returns. Yan Padian was silent for a long time, and said hesitantly, "The cultivator has returned." The others cried out in alarm, and even Yan Qingyi's eyelids twitched a few times. Could it be that this world is really going to be in chaos? No one could answer Yan Qishan's question. "Grandfather, what should we do now?" Yan Luyun asked. Yan Padian stared deeply at his descendant, and said, "Regardless of whether or not the cultivator has returned, since Tang Zheng is going to play such a big role in the future, then the status of cultivators will definitely increase in the future, and with regards to Tang Zheng, the future savior, we have to rope him in even more. This will be of great benefit to us and the Yan family." The few of them nodded. If the future was really as Yan Qingyi had foreseen, this was indeed a good way to seize the initiative. If the Ya family and Tang Zheng cut off their relationship, wouldn't that be letting the cooked duck fly away? Yan Luyun said with some amusement. Yan Padian curled his lips and said disdainfully, "Don't think that just because Yi Xuanji broke through to the Grandmaster stage, he became so powerful. Back then, why was he unable to break through? This was related to his breadth of mind and vision, and his vision was only that big. He only focused on the present and could not see the future. Then this time, our Yan family has taken the initiative. Wouldn't that be a huge advantage?" Yan Luyun said happily. Yan Qishan shook his head. "Luyun, don't just look at the opportunity, this is opportunity and danger coexisting. At this moment, everyone is treating Tang Zheng as the target of public criticism, but the Yan family is on good terms with him. Do you know what this means?" Yan Liuyun's expression changed slightly. Of course he knew what it meant that the Yan family would also become the target of public criticism and attract cannon fire. The few of them understood this logic and looked at Yan Padian. This question obviously required him, the head of the family, to make a decision. Yan Padian looked deeply at Yan Qingyi, and then, without any hesitation, he said, "I believe in Qingyi's judgment, we must rope in Tang Zheng." Yan Padian set the tone, and the others no longer sang the opposite tune. Even if Yan Qishan still had reservations about Tang Zheng, he did not refute him. Yan Luyun asked, "Grandfather, this time, Tang Zheng killed Chu Chongyang, and will definitely cause a crazy counterattack. What should we do? It's better to send charcoal in the snow than icing on the cake. Right now, it's Tang Zheng's most dangerous moment, so of course we have to be the ones to send charcoal in the snow. Qishan, go and inform Chu Mingxian not to seek revenge on Tang Zheng." Yan Padian arranged. Yan Qishan said worriedly, "I'm afraid Chu Mingxian will not agree." Yan Padian laughed coldly, "If you don't agree, at this moment, the Chu family no longer has anyone to rely on. Do you really want to suffer the calamity of extermination?" Yan Qishan nodded as if he had understood something. The Chu family no longer had anyone to rely on. If they still did not know how to advance or retreat, then they would really die. Moreover, which great clan didn't die? If they didn't know how to endure and retreat, then they could only be eliminated by history. This was reality, and reality was just that cruel. Yan Qishan came to the Chu family with the order. At this moment, the Chu family was immersed in grief and anger. Chu Mingxian received Yan Qishan, and when Yan Qishan explained the purpose of his visit, the veins on Chu Mingxuan's forehead twitched, and he asked hysterically, "Why?" "This is the rule of the game. The loser has no right to ask why. Yan Qishan spoke bluntly without holding back. My father's corpse is not cold yet, and you're going to do this? Yan Qishan laughed disdainfully. Don't really think of yourself as a pitiful weakling. Which family is clean? Did the Chu family not do enough in the past? Moreover, I am doing this for your own good. Right now, no one in the Chu family is a match for Tang Zheng. If you continue to provoke him, you will only be courting death. Of course, Chu Mingxian knew that the other party was not lying, but at this moment, his mind was completely drowned by anger. He roared, so what if I'm courting death? I want Tang Zheng to die. Your father is no longer here. You should work even harder to manage the Chu family, and not let the Chu family be exhausted for nothing. Yan Qishan kindly reminded him. You don't need to worry about it. Scram, the Chu family doesn't welcome you. Chu Mingxian ordered him to leave. Yan Qishan said indifferently, I've said everything that needs to be said, it's up to you now. After saying that, he turned around and left with large strides. Just as he walked out of the door, he saw a few people walking towards him. It was actually Song Yu and his father, Song Hanjun, and with them was Chu Xiaofeng. The Chu family's young master's face was filled with fear as he rushed in a sorry state, almost colliding with Yan Qishan. Song Hanjun stopped in front of Yan Qishan and asked in bewilderment, Qishan, you came a step earlier than me, you are really well informed. You're not late either. I'll take my leave first. With that, Yan Qishan walked away with large strides. Song Hanjun looked at his back in shock, his eyelids twitching. Song Yu also looked at him suspiciously, and asked in a low voice, why did he leave in such a hurry? There must be something going on. Let's go in first. Song Hanjun said in a deep voice, and then quickly walked in. Chu Xiaofeng was already wailing loudly, and Chu Mingxuan's face was also filled with anger. Song Hanjuan's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately changed his expression. With a sorrowful expression, he said while choking with sobs, Brother Mingxian, I came late. I never thought that the patriarch of the Chongyang family would actually be killed by a villain. Chapter 463. Hearing that, Chu Mingxian cupped his hands and said, Thank you, Hanjun, for taking the time to come here. Unlike some people who saw that my father was in trouble, they came here to bully others. Song Hanjuan's eyebrows twitched, as if he had understood something. Could it be that Mingxian is talking about the Yan Qishan who just left? Chu Mingxian snorted angrily. Other than him, who else can it be? Yan family really thinks that they are the number one in the capital, and do not put anyone else in their eyes at all. In the past, the Yan family was powerful, and the Chu family relied on the Yan family. Later on, because of what happened at the birthday banquet, the two families developed a grudge, and the estrangement grew larger and larger. This time, the Yan family's decision had finally caused the two families to fall out, and Chu Mingxian finally had nothing to worry about. Hearing that, Song Hanjuan's heart trembled. He did not understand why the Yan family would make such a decision. Right now should be the best time to rope in the Chu family, or even annex the Chu family, but the Yan family did the opposite. Song Hanjun could not figure it out for the time being, but this did not stop him from being overjoyed. Since the Yan family had given up on this fat meat, the Song family had no reason to refuse. In these past few years, the Song family had worked hard and looked harmless, but in fact, they were secretly accumulating power, and their strength had already increased by a leap. If they could take advantage of this opportunity to annex the Chu family, it would be like adding wings to a tiger, and they could even stand on equal footing with the Yan family. Tianqing Song family, I really came to the right place this time. Song Hanjun was secretly happy in his heart, but he put on an expression of righteous indignation and shouted angrily, How preposterous! We are all great families in the capital, so we should be on the same side. Yan family actually took advantage of this opportunity to bully others. It is truly despicable. Humph, not only is the Yan family bullying others, they are also supporting that brat Tang Zheng. Who is that brat? He is a cultivator. I think the Yan family is preparing to become enemies with all the warriors in the world. Chu Mingxian gritted his teeth and said. Song Hanjuan's eyes became brighter and brighter. He thought to himself, could it be that Yen Padian has gone senile? They actually stood on the side of the Shouja on such a major issue. This was seeking their own destruction. If it weren't for the inappropriate occasion, Song Hanjun really wanted to look up to the sky and laugh 3 times. If this wasn't the heavens helping the Song family, then what was? Song Yu, on the other hand, was not so excited. Instead, she frowned and looked at her father, deep in thought. Mingxian, the Yen family is so perverse. It will definitely arouse public anger. You don't need to care about their attitude. This time, the head of the Chongyang family was killed by Tang Zheng. What are you going to do? Song Hanjun asked. Revenge, a debt of blood must be paid in blood. We must kill that brat Tang Zheng. Chu Mingxian said resolutely. Chu Xiaofeng abruptly raised his head. With a ferocious expression, he clamored, we must kill him. Tang Zheng was his nightmare, and he could not get rid of it. Last time, he teamed up with Song Yu to trap Tang Zheng, and was prepared to let him die in the martial arts assembly, but it did not work. He did not expect that the pillar of the Chu family would fall into Tang Zheng's hands this time. However, Chu Xiaofeng was not at home earlier, and was with Song Yu, so he did not personally witness the battle just now. He suddenly came to a realization and asked, what kind of strength does Tang Zheng have? How can he be a match for grandfather? Cultivators have many despicable and dirty methods. The old man only lost his life after falling into his scheme. Chu Mingxian said hatefully, but did not tell the truth. Regarding the specific details of the battle, Chu Mingxian had already issued a gag order, and no one present was allowed to mention it to outsiders. Therefore, the others only knew that Chu Chongyang had died at the hands of Tang Zheng, but they did not know the details. In fact, many people did not believe that Tang Zheng had killed Chu Chongyang with his true abilities, and that he must have relied on some kind of scheme of a cultivator to succeed. Although they were afraid of Tang Zheng's methods, no one would compare Tang Zheng's cultivation to a great master. At least, that was what Song Hanjun thought in his heart. Then there's no time to lose. Mingxian should take advantage of the opportunity to pursue and kill him, and use that brat's head as a sacrifice to the Chongyang family patriarch. Song Hanjun instigated. Chu Mingxian blinked his eyes, as if he was moved. He wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to chase after him. Moreover, Tang Zheng was injured and could not move, so this was the best opportunity. However, he was not Qin Baishan's opponent for the time being, so he would not be able to gain any benefits from it. Song Hanjun saw through the clues and asked, Mingxian, could it be that there is something that is hard to say? Chu Mingxian already understood that without the help of the Yen family, he should get closer to the big tree that was the Song family. He might as well not hide it anymore, and said with righteous indignation, to be honest, ever since I was injured at Yen Potion's birthday banquet, I have yet to recover, and right now, Tang Zheng is under Qin Baishan's protection, so I can't kill him. Qin Badian. Song Hanjun frowned. He actually got involved. He really doesn't know what's good for him. For Qin Badian to be able to gain a foothold in the capital, he naturally had his own abilities. However, his strength was still lacking compared to the few great clans, and when any clan wanted to completely destroy him, they would still have to pay a certain price. Therefore, he had survived between the cracks of the few great clans. Although it was difficult, it could still be considered a type of ability. Of course, Song Hanjun knew Qin Baishan's abilities, but he did not really care. With regards to the big plan of annexing the Chu family, if Qin Badian did not know what was good for him and became the tiger that stood in the way, Song Hanjun did not mind getting rid of Qin Badian earlier. Therefore, Song Hanjun said without hesitation, Mingxian, a single Qin Badian is not worth mentioning. Now that you are injured and have such a big family to work hard for, you can leave this matter to me. It can be considered as me doing something for the Chongyang family head. Chu Mingxian was so grateful that he cupped his fists and said, hardships reveal one's heart. Hanjun, you are the great benefactor of our Chu family. Song Hanjun smiled modestly, but a trace of complacency flashed past his eyes. He thought to himself, I am your benefactor now, and in the future, I will be your master, haha. Song Hanjun was swift and decisive, and immediately expressed that he wanted to leave and kill Tang Zheng. Chu Xiaofeng volunteered and shouted, I'll go too. I want to kill that brat with my own hands. Back then, I didn't kill him, and I regret it. This time, I definitely can't let that brat live. After he finished speaking, his eyes flickered with flames of hatred, and his expression was sinister and terrifying. All right, Xiaofeng, you go together. When the time comes, I'll let you personally end that brat. Song Hanjun patted Chu Xiaofeng's shoulder and said cordially. Chu Mingxian did not object, and the three of them left the Chu family together. Song Hanjun and his son sat in their own car, and seeing that there were no outsiders, Song Yu finally could not hold it in and asked the question that had been stuck in her heart for a long time. Dad, the Yan family is not an idiot. Why are they so abnormal this time, to actually help Tang Zheng unexpectedly? Song Hanjun laughed unconcernedly. Yan Padian is muddle-headed. He really thinks that no one in the capital can control him, so he is becoming more and more unbridled. I don't think so. Yan Padian has been cautious for so many years, otherwise he wouldn't have the strength of the Yan family today. The Yan family has always had a close relationship with the Li Palace. Could it be that they received the instructions of the Li Palace? Song Yu guessed. Song Hanjun was shocked. Coincidentally, the car bumped and almost hit the back of the chair in front of him, scaring the driver so much that his heart jumped. You're saying that the Li Palace instructed the Yan family to rope in Tang Zheng? Song Hanjun asked in bewilderment. That's also my guess. Song Yu said uncertainly. Song Hanjun's expression became even more serious. He could not make up his mind, and said, I'll ask the old man first. He immediately dialed Song Jianan's number. After hearing his analysis, the other party said disdainfully, Do you think that the Li Palace will protect a cultivator? Ridiculous. Although the Li Palace was not like the martial sect who chased after cultivators with no regard for their lives, they were not friends with cultivators either. The martial sect viewed cultivators as a thorn in their side, and the Li Palace would definitely not go against the martial sect on this point. Moreover, I can guess that the Azure Dragon Hall will definitely stand on the side of the martial sect when it comes to cultivators. Hearing the other party's confident words, Song Hanjun and Song Yu's expressions changed slightly. Song Yu asked, Grandfather, both the Li Palace and the martial sect have people walking in the world. Why has the Azure Dragon Hall only heard of their names and never seen them? The Azure Dragon Hall has always been a legend. Not to mention you, even I have never seen anyone from the Azure Dragon Hall. Song Jianan laughed. Song Hanjun and Song Yu looked at each other, and thought at the same time. If that was the case, then the Azure Dragon Hall had always existed in legends, and no one had ever seen its members. Could it be that this was a fabricated organization? Hearing the silence of the two, Song Jianan chuckled, as if he had guessed their thoughts, and said, The Azure Dragon Hall really exists, but its strength is unfathomable. It is said that even if the Li Palace and the martial sect were to work together, they would still not be a match for the Azure Dragon Hall. What, so powerful? The two of them turned pale with fright. In their eyes, the Li Palace and the martial sect were already existences that could not be fought against. This Azure Dragon Hall was actually even more powerful than these two organizations combined. Although the Azure Dragon Hall does not appear in this world, how can the matters of this world escape its eyes? Therefore, you don't have to worry, the Li Palace will not instruct the Yan family to rope in Tang Zheng. This is definitely Yan Potion's opportunistic method, but this method would cause the Yan family to suffer a calamity. The heavens are helping me. This capital is bound to be dominated by my Song family. Song Jianan laughed wildly with pride. Song Hanjun and Song Yu heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. The bit of doubt in Song Yu's heart also disappeared into thin air, and instead, a kind of excitement and pleasure gradually assaulted her heart. He had known Tang Zheng for a very long time. Back then, when he first met Tang Zheng at the ordinary balance courtyard, he could still have a high and mighty attitude. However, this kind of high and mighty attitude did not last long, because on the problem of Yidingdang, Tang Zheng had completely defeated him. Although he knew that it was just a prank, just a play, he did not expect that the play would become true and he would be utterly defeated. After that, the two sides moved to the capital, but not long after Tang Zheng arrived in the capital, he shocked the world with a single feat. Although the two sides did not clash again, Tang Zheng had completely suppressed his limelight. This caused Song Yu, who had always been high and mighty, to try and fail. He and Chu Xiaofeng had used the spirit transformation powder pill to trap Tang Zheng, but it was to no avail. At that time, he had experienced a feeling called fear, a feeling that he had never felt before. He secretly swore in his heart that he would definitely get rid of this person. Chapter 464. As night fell, Tang Zheng lay alone on his bed, looking out the window at the sky. The sky was very dark and the haze was very thick. It seemed like it was going to rain, washing away the haze that made it difficult to breathe. Tang Zheng stayed at Qin Baishan's house to recuperate. His limbs had already regained the ability to move, but his internal energy had not yet recovered. He could be considered to be powerless. His body was empty and his qi was as weak as a wisp of smoke. A martial scholar is really not that easy to kill. I almost lost my life. He sighed inwardly. Are you asleep? A weak voice came from next door. This was Yi Dingdang's voice. She had stubbornly stayed and turned off her phone, not letting anyone in the house find her. I'm asleep. Tang Zheng said. You're still promising me after sleeping. Hang, you never say a proper word all day. Yi Dingdang ridiculed. Yes, that's my temper. It seems like I won't be able to change it in this lifetime. It's not too late for you to regret leaving. I said that I would protect you. How could I leave? Hang, no matter who it is, I'll kill one if one comes, I'll kill two if two come. Yi Dingdang said righteously. Tang Zheng's lips curled into a smile. To have such a close female friend was undoubtedly one of life's greatest blessings. He did not know what he had done to deserve this. Go to sleep. You're a good student, so you can't skip class like me. Tang Zheng advised. I won't leave until you're well. It's almost time for the final exams. I'm not afraid. Don't think that you're the only smart one. I'm not stupid either. Yi Dingdang said proudly. Then let's have a bet on whose final exam score is higher. Yi Dingdang angrily said, I won't bet with you. I've bet with you so many times before and lost every time. I won't be fooled again. Thinking about their previous bet, the two of them could not help but smile. Pang! A loud noise rang out. It was particularly sudden and ear-piercing in the silent night. Tang Zheng immediately sat up and exclaimed, something's wrong. The door was suddenly pushed open and a graceful figure stood in front of Tang Zheng to protect him. Yi Dingdang cautiously said, someone broke in. I heard it. It's in the front yard. Tang Zheng said with a solemn expression, it's not even night yet, and you can't wait to kill me already? Don't worry, I'm here. Yi Dingdang patted her chest and said fearlessly. Tang Zheng smiled knowingly. Then I'll leave my life in your hands. Yi Dingdang heard this and her eyes widened. Her confidence soared as she excitedly said, don't worry, with this heroine here, I won't let anyone take advantage of you. Tang Zheng smiled as he looked at her. He found that he seemed to have returned to the time when he was ordinary balance. Ever since he came to Beijing, there were too many strong local tyrants. Yi Dingdang also seemed to be a lot more reserved. But at this moment, her confidence made people's eyes light up. Although this kind of confidence was a bit overestimating one's abilities, Tang Zheng felt that he liked it very much. A warm current flowed through his body. Not long after, there was the sound of fierce fighting in the front yard. Just by listening to the sound, one could tell how dangerous this battle was. It's an expert. Tang Zheng's expression became serious. How high of an expert? Yi Dingdang asked in confusion. An expert higher than you. Yi Dingdang's face revealed a difficult expression. But she immediately calmed down and said, so what if it's an expert? This heroine will still cut him down with my sword. With a schwa sound, she pulled out a cold glinting sword from somewhere. The sword was still trembling. You know swordsmanship? Tang Zheng asked in astonishment. He had never seen her use a sword before. Yi Dingdang's face turned red as she said, before I left, I took a sword from home. Tang Zheng smiled. The meaning of these words was obvious. Although Yi Dingdang was already a prenatal martial artist, he really didn't know any swordsmanship. If I had a suitable swordsmanship, I could teach it to her. But the heaven-flying immortal's swordsmanship doesn't suit her. Tang Zheng said regretfully. As soon as this thought appeared, a set of swordsmanship appeared in his mind. Tang Zheng was shocked. He couldn't help but cry out, wind-chasing swordsmanship. Wind-chasing swordsmanship, what kind of swordsmanship is this? Yi Dingdang curiously asked when she heard this. But she discovered that Tang Zheng's eyes were staring in front of him as if he was stunned. She quickly waved her hand in front of his eyes and called out, Hey, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me. Tang Zheng regained his calm. It was clear that this set of wind-chasing swordsmanship was related to Chi Yu's heart. Maybe it was that thought from before that touched Chi Yu's heart, so this set of swordsmanship appeared out of nowhere. He knocked away her hand and said, I have a set of swordsmanship called wind-chasing swordsmanship. It is very suitable for you. Yi Dingdang's eyebrows danced as she said, Really? The Jade Woman's Heart Sutra you gave me last time was very powerful. This wind-chasing swordsmanship shouldn't be too bad, right? Tang Zheng nodded. The swordsmanship recorded in Chi Yu's heart naturally wouldn't be too bad. He didn't know the origin of this set of swordsmanship, but this set of swordsmanship was very interesting. It only required sword moves and didn't even need Chi or Chi to activate it. This meant that even if a normal person was familiar with the moves and used them, the power would not be small. At least in Tang Zheng's eyes, the power of this set of swordsmanship was not small. When Tang Zheng finished teaching this set of swordsmanship, Yi Dingdang's eyes lit up with joy. Although she didn't understand swordsmanship, she still had a bit of eyesight. She understood the value of this set of swordsmanship and couldn't help but happily say, I really like this set of swordsmanship. You should be the only two people in this world that know this set of swordsmanship. Tang Zheng said. Yi Dingdang's eyebrows danced as she excitedly jumped up. What kind of gift did a woman like the most? The one and only gift in this world that no one else had. Wasn't this set of swordsmanship the most suitable gift? You only taught me? Yi Dingdang stared with her big round eyes and asked. Yes. Even Feng Shishir doesn't know it? Tang Zheng nodded. Wah. Yi Dingdang excitedly threw herself at Tang Zheng. With a peng sound, she threw him onto the bed. Tang Zheng was currently not her opponent. He was pressed under her body and inhaled her fragrance. He awkwardly said, Are you trying to take advantage of me when I'm not paying attention and throw yourself at me? Yi Dingdang immediately blushed. She stood up straight and glared at him. What nonsense are you thinking about all day? Don't just talk. Practice your swordsmanship first. Tang Zheng urged. Okay. Yi Dingdang immediately began to move. Her sword moved according to her heart. Schwa, 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 her sword was like the wind. The wind rose and the sword chased after the wind until only a sword shadow was left. What a fast sword. Yi Dingdang was dumbfounded. She clearly did not expect the sword in her hand to be so fast. Moreover, she felt that there was no internal strength flowing. This was the power of a fixed move. This. Why is the swordsmanship so strange? Yi Dingdang asked in astonishment. Tang Zheng was speechless. He had only explained it once and she was able to practice the swordsmanship to such a degree. It was truly shocking. If she was not a martial arts genius, then it could only be because of the mysteriousness of the swordsmanship. Could it be that this set of swordsmanship can be learned quickly and at such a terrifying speed? Tang Zheng was shocked by this thought. This kind of swordsmanship could be called a peerless swordsmanship. It was a treasure that many people coveted. No matter how powerful a set of swordsmanship was, it was too difficult to learn. It was something that ordinary people could only dream of. But a set of swordsmanship was not only powerful, it did not have any requirements for the cultivator. Moreover, it could be learned in one lesson. How terrifying was that? It could instantly turn a person into an expert. This is too abnormal. Tang Jing smacked his lips, unable to let go of the shock in his heart for a long time. As expected of the swordsmanship in Qi Yu's heart. This is a peerless treasure. I'm afraid its value is even greater than the heaven-flying immortal swordsmanship. It was true that the heaven-flying immortal swordsmanship was powerful. As for whether it was more powerful than the wind-chasing swordsmanship, Tang Zheng was unable to determine. However, one thing was certain. The heaven-flying immortal swordsmanship was not something that ordinary people could learn. On the other hand, the wind-chasing swordsmanship could be learned by anyone. The difference in value was like heaven and earth. However, the wind-chasing swordsmanship was not simple. If one did not know the sword moves and profoundness within it, they would not be able to learn it. Therefore, he was not afraid that others would secretly learn it during a battle. Tang Zheng was inexplicably excited. He did not know what other treasures Qi Yu had in his heart. Seeing Tang Zheng in a daze and not speaking, Yi Dingdang nudged him and asked, "Hey, why are you in a daze again? How come I didn't notice this before?" Tang Zheng came back to his senses and solemnly said, "The wind-chasing swordsmanship must not be casually taught to outsiders. Do you understand?" "Of course, I'm not an idiot." Yi Dingdang rolled her eyes. She did not think that this swordsmanship was too precious and could not be taught to outsiders. Rather, this was the only swordsmanship that Tang Zheng had taught her. In this world, it was unique to her. How could she be willing to share it with others? Boom! Suddenly, a loud sound from outside interrupted the two's thoughts. The ground trembled and the two jumped in fright. Tang Zheng hurriedly said, "Let's go out and take a look." The two of them walked out of the room and saw that the courtyard was in a mess. A large portion of the courtyard walls had collapsed and dust filled the air. In the middle of the mess stood two people, Qin Badian and Song Hanjun. Qin Baishan's mouth was dripping with blood. His clothes had been cut in several places and he appeared to be in a sorry state. Song Hanjuan's aura was even stronger as he held a large blade in his hand. "Qin Badian, you are not my opponent. If you want to seek death, then I will fulfill your wish today," Song Hanjun said with a murderous aura. Qin Badian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and arrogantly said, "Song Hanjun, as long as I am here, you can forget about touching a single hair on Tang Zheng's head." "Reckless fool, what benefits did Tang Zheng give you to make you so dead set on following him?" Qin Badian coldly snorted but did not reply. Song Hanjun was preparing to make another move when he saw Tang Zheng standing at the entrance from the corner of his eyes. His eyes narrowed as he roared with killing intent, "Tang Zheng, quickly come and accept your death. Tang Zheng, leave quickly. I will block him first." Qin Badian leaped, blocking Song Hanjuan's path as he shouted. Chapter 465. Song Hanjun made a feint and dodged Qin Baishan's attack as the cold glint of the blade in his hand shot towards Tang Zheng. Qin Badian turned pale with fright as he hurriedly shouted for him to stop, but it was already too late. Song Hanjuan's move was a killing move, and if it hit Tang Zheng, even if he didn't die, he would be heavily injured. Song Hanjun was determined to win. With Tang Zheng's current physique, there was no way for him to dodge and he could only watch as the large blade slashed towards him. Shwa! A ray of sword light rose from his side and met the blade of the saber. It was fast and accurate and tapped on the body of the saber. A burst of skillful power suddenly erupted, and the saber was deflected to the side, missing the target. Song Hanjun was shocked as he didn't expect that this sure-kill attack would actually miss because of Yi Dingdang's obstruction. Qin Badian rejoiced as he leapt in front of Tang Zheng to protect him, glaring at Song Hanjun like a tiger eyeing its prey. Song Hanjun ignored him as he stared at Yi Dingdang and said, Yi Dingdang, could it be that you also want to be my enemy and the Song family's enemy? Yi Dingdang proudly said, you want to kill Tang Zheng, so that means you are my enemy and I am your enemy. Don't think that just because you're Yi Tianlei's daughter that I won't dare to touch you. Yi Tianlei is only a first-grade Xiantian realm cultivator and is weak by himself. Even if I hurt you, he can't do anything to me. Song Hanjun said confidently, as he obviously didn't put Yi Tianlei in his eyes. Although Yi Tianlei was one of the top 2 in the Ye family, compared to the other second-generation disciples, his strength was the weakest, so Song Hanjun didn't think much of him. Then let's give it a try. Let's see if the sword in my hand is weak. Yi Dingdang bit her lip and refused to back down. At this time, Song Yu and Chu Xiaofeng also rushed in from the outside. When they saw Yi Dingdang, Song Yu's face flashed with displeasure, and then looked at Tang Zheng hiding behind Yi Dingdang, and resentment appeared in her eyes. Dad, don't hurt Dingdang. Our target is Tang Zheng, Song Yu advised. Song Hanjun looked at his son meaningfully and said, I cannot hurt her, but she must immediately scram away from me, otherwise the blade in my hand will not recognize her. Song Yu hurriedly advised, Dingdang, come over here quickly. Tang Zheng is a cultivator, not a kind person. He's not like us. Don't be fooled by him. Yi Dingdang didn't appreciate it at all and coldly said, kind people? Humph, I think you're not kind people. If you want to stand up for the Song family, then you must first defeat the sword in my hand. You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Song Hanjun said disdainfully. Seeing that he was about to attack, Song Yu advised again, Dingdang, you've been deceived by Tang Zheng. He's our public enemy. There's no benefit in being with him. There's no benefit in being with you. Besides, Song Yu, I have nothing to do with you. I don't need you to persuade me. Yi Dingdang didn't appreciate it at all. She was already annoyed with the other party, so at this moment, she naturally didn't have a good expression. Chu Xiaofeng coldly watched from the sidelines. His face was filled with resentment. He coldly snorted and said, young Master Song really has tender feelings for the fairer sex. What's the use of having this kind of blind and stupid woman? It's better to kill them both. Song Yu was extremely disappointed. At the beginning, he had an indifferent attitude towards Yi Dingdang. But after his repeated failures, his interest towards Yi Dingdang grew. In the end, he made up his mind to take her for himself. But it seemed that this goal would be extremely difficult to achieve. Song Hanjun saw his son's expression and murderously said, Yi Dingdang, since you don't know what's good for you, then don't blame me for being impolite. How many moves do you think you can take from me? Yi Dingdang raised her head and jokingly asked, then how many moves do you think you can take to defeat me? You still want to use a few moves? Good, you really won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Then I'll help you. Within 10 moves, you will definitely fall. I want you to watch with your own eyes as Tang Zheng dies in front of you. Song Hanjun wildly laughed. Then let's make a bet. Yi Dingdang said. Bet? Bet on what? Bet that you won't be able to take me down within 10 moves. Song Hanjun was stunned for a moment, then immediately began to laugh loudly. This was truly the biggest joke in the world. Yi Dingdang was a Hotian realm martial artist and Song Hanjun was indeed a Xiantian realm martial artist. There was an insurmountable chasm between the two. This was a principle that any martial artist would understand. That was why Song Hanjun was so confident. In fact, in his opinion, he would be able to defeat Yi Dingdang within 5 moves. Saying that he would be able to defeat her within 10 moves was already giving him face. The others looked at Yi Dingdang in disbelief. Qin Badian hurriedly stopped her. Miss Yi, you must not let your guard down. With me here, it won't be easy for him to kill Tang Zheng. Yi Dingdang glanced at him. Qin Baishan's body was already covered in wounds. It was obvious that he was not Song Hanjun's opponent. If the two of them continued to fight, then Qin Badian might even lose his life. This point was obvious to anyone with eyes, but Qin Badian still did not hesitate. This kind of spirit was worthy of respect. Tang Zheng's heart trembled as he persuaded, Mr. Qin, you have already done so much for me. There is no need to throw your life away. If I really am destined to die, then I have nothing to say. Qin Badian retorted, no, I said that I will protect you, so I will definitely protect you. I, Qin Badian, may not be a powerful character, but my words are like nails. Qin Badian, you really have a backbone and are loyal to your friends. After I take care of Tang Zheng, I will naturally take care of you. Don't think that you are a big shot. The reason why you can stand firm in the capital is because we can't be bothered to take care of you. If we really wanted to take care of you, we could easily crush you to death. Song Hanjun said with disdain. Come then. Qin Badian stepped forward. Yi Dingdang hurriedly stopped him. Song Hanjun, don't change the topic. I bet that you won't be able to defeat me within 10 moves. Do you dare to bet with me? You can't be feeling guilty, right? So the Song family is only so-so? Song Hanjuan's eyebrows twitched. What do I not dare to bet with you? Since you are so intent on sending yourself to death, then I will fulfill your wish. However, I am not prepared to kill you. If you lose, then you will accompany my son tonight. Accompany Song Yu? The meaning was too obvious. Yi Dingdang's face flushed red as she glanced at the father and son pair. She did not expect that he would raise such a condition. Song Yu was slightly startled as she looked at her father. She suddenly realized that Yi Dingdang could already be considered as his inner demons. If he could not obtain her and get rid of this inner demons, then his future martial path would be filled with difficulties. If he could get rid of this inner demons, then his future cultivation would be twice the result with half the effort. As someone who had been through this before, Song Hanjun was clearly very experienced. When Tang Zheng heard this condition, his eyes flashed with anger as he immediately rejected, no, I won't bet with you. If you want to kill me, then do it. Tang Zheng, I still thought that you were a little man who hid behind a woman. I never thought that you still had some backbone. Song Hanjun said with ridicule. Chu Xiaofeng sarcastically said with bad intentions, what backbone does he have? He only knows how to hide behind others. Chu Xiaofeng, don't make sarcastic remarks. You know very well who is usually hiding behind others. Without the Chu family, what are you? How could Yi Dingdang tolerate her beloved being humiliated? She immediately retorted. Chu Xiaofeng was poked in the back and his face was as red as a monkey's butt. He was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices as he roared, I see that you are arrogant now, but in a moment you will know how to beg for mercy. Tang Zheng turned a deaf ear to these sarcastic remarks. He tugged at Yi Dingdang's sleeve and advised in a low voice, don't be impulsive. You go first, I have a way to escape. Yi Dingdang rolled her eyes at him and said, what way do you have to escape? Now you want to lie to me, do you think I am so easy to fool? But the stakes are too high. You don't need to fall into it. Tang Zheng was really worried about her. After all, the difference in cultivation between the two sides was too great. Yi Dingdang shrugged and said without fear, if the stakes are not high, how can it be fun? Could it be that you have so little confidence in me that you are afraid that I will lose? Song Hanjun is not an ordinary person. Tang Zheng said with hesitation. Yi Dingdang stared at him, then I am not an ordinary person. Moreover, didn't you just teach me the wind-chasing sword technique? This is a good opportunity for Song Hanjun to test it out. Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. He had just imparted the wind-chasing sword technique to her on a whim and she was actually so confident. He did not know if he should say that his heart was too big. Could it be that you have no confidence in your own sword technique? Yi Dingdang stared at him and asked. Tang Zheng felt bitter. Although he could see that the wind-chasing sword technique was not an ordinary technique, Yi Dingdang had just demonstrated it once. If she were to face an opponent like Song Hanjun, Tang Zheng did not have the confidence that she could last more than 10 moves. If she lost, then her loss would be too great. Humph, since you have no confidence in me, then I will let you see my strength today. Moreover, you have saved me before, so today I will save you once. I will let you know that I, Yi Ding Dang, am not an ungrateful person. Yi Ding Dang pouted and vowed. What are you two whispering to each other for? Do you not want to agree to this condition? Fine, then there is no need for us to continue talking. I will directly deal with you too. Song Hanjun said with a murderous look. I promise you. Yi Ding Dang said without fear, but I also have a condition. If you lose, then scram as far away as you can. Don't have any ideas about Tang Zheng. Huh, this kind of situation will never happen. Song Hanjun laughed. You don't dare to agree to this condition, right? Yi Ding Dang curled her lips and said with disdain. What is there to be afraid of, I promise you. Song Hanjun said with a smile, as if Yi Ding Dang really was a lamb waiting to be slaughtered, allowing him to knead her however he wanted. Actually, Song Hanjun agreed to this bet because he wanted Yi Ding Dang to willingly accompany Song Yu. This would not only get rid of Song Yu's inner demons, but it would also shut the Ye family's mouth. It was killing two birds with one stone. Moreover, he would not suffer any losses. It was a sure-win situation. Now that things have come to this, there was no way to change it. Chapter 466. Tang Zheng was at his wit's end, and Qin Badian was powerless to stop him, so he anxiously said, Tang Zheng, what do we do now? If Miss Yi loses, that would be terrible. Tang Zheng wanted to shout to stop him, but it was of no use. Moreover, this would only distract Yi Ding Dang, so the only thing he could do now was to hope for a miracle to happen. Will there be a miracle? The blade light was like a waterfall, as if silver from the 9 heavens was pouring down in torrents, drawing out a streak of white light as it struck towards Yi Ding Dang's head like lightning. Dang! A metallic sound rang out. Yi Ding Dang's sword had appeared out of nowhere and blocked the opponent's large blade, causing sparks to fly. Song Hanjun frowned slightly. The blade retracted like a spring, but the blade did not retract too much, and then attacked again with the force of a thunderbolt. Between retracting and attacking, it was extremely fast. Yi Ding Dang clenched her teeth, her delicate cheeks flushed red, but there was no fear in her eyes, only determination. Shwa! Her long sword turned around, narrowly blocking the large blade. The angle was extremely crafty, and it came and went like a ghost. 2 moves. Yi Ding Dang finally blurted out 3 words, while Song Hanjuan's face darkened, as black as the sky before the storm. What's going on? Such crafty moves were blocked by this little girl. Humph. Who knows what that old fox Yi Xuanji taught her, to have such a miraculous effect. However, her strength is still too weak, wanting to last 10 moves, dream on. Song Hanjuan's heart hardened, and with a low roar, his hands flew, and the blade light followed like a shadow, following closely behind. Yi Ding Dang did not even dare to breathe loudly, only staring at the large blade that was moving like lightning. She repeatedly raised the sword in her hand, either flicking, thrusting, or lifting. A miracle happened. Her movements were not as smooth as flowing water. However, that ordinary-looking long sword in her hand actually erupted with a strange power. Streaks of sword light streaked across the air. Ping, 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 ping. Not a single blade struck Yi Ding Dang's body. Among them, the most dangerous slash had already arrived in front of Yi Ding Dang's forehead, but that sword had mysteriously appeared and disappeared to block this attack. It was extremely dangerous. 7 moves. Yi Ding Dang's eyes exploded with a resplendent light as her confidence soared. In reality, she was only relying on a single breath of air and passion to make this bet. This was because she understood that this was the only way to force Tang Zheng to agree. She would then be able to find a sliver of a chance to let Tang Zheng escape. If not, with just Qin Badian, none of them would be able to gain any benefits today. Although it was more strenuous for her to use the wind-chasing swordsmanship, the power of the wind-chasing swordsmanship still erupted. Song Hanjuan's eyes released a terrifying light as he roared, "Watch my blade." Whoosh! The air in all directions was completely stirred up by this move. The wind rose and the clouds surged. There was a sudden flash of wind and thunder, as if a bolt of lightning was descending. The power of this move had not yet been used up. The other two moves came one after another. The power of these three moves overlapped as they attacked Yi Dingdang with a force that could topple mountains and overturn seas. Yi Dingdang's face was a bit pale, but she did not retreat an inch. Relying on the 3-foot-long sword in her hand, she continuously attacked. Every move was fast, ruthless, and accurate. Dang, dang, dang. Sparks flew everywhere as the sound of air exploding rang out from all directions. The stones embedded in the ground broke free from the bindings of the earth and flew up into the air, sending sand and stones flying. Yi Dingdang was in the center of the storm, but she did not move at all. She was like a sea-stabilizing needle. Move after move, her tension and relaxation were measured. She had the demeanor of an expert. Pooh! Spitting out a mouthful of blood, Yi Dingdang's face became deathly pale. But her legs seemed to have grown roots as they pierced into the ground and did not move an inch. Everything returned to calmness. Yi Dingdang's mouth gradually rippled. She had succeeded. A miracle had really happened. In a situation that everyone thought was impossible, she had actually withstood 10 moves. Tang Zheng had been saved. You lost. Her red lips slightly opened as Yi Dingdang faintly spat out these 3 words. She let out a sigh of relief in her heart as she revealed a relieved expression. Song Hanjuan's eyes widened in anger as he roared in disbelief, "Impossible." The impossible had become possible. This was a miracle. Yi Dingdang had created a miracle. She had not only relied on the wind-chasing sword art, but more importantly, her courage and her affection for Tang Zheng. All of these added together to support her. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. How could I not defeat you in 10 moves? Song Hanjun was furious as his eyes burned with anger. Suddenly, an ominous glint appeared in his eyes. His figure flashed as he charged towards Yi Dingdang. His thick broadsword slashed towards Yi Dingdang. Yi Dingdang had relied on her astonishing willpower to withstand these 10 moves. Once the 11th move was used, she would definitely lose. She raised the 3-foot-long sword, but the power was completely different from before. Kacha! The sword broke and the thick blade struck Yi Dingdang's chest. The sound of bones breaking suddenly rang out as a large mouthful of blood spurted out from Yi Dingdang's mouth. She was like a kite with a broken string as she flew backwards. No one had expected Song Hanjun to shamelessly make a move after losing the bet. The entire hall was shocked. Ding dang. Tang Zheng rushed out. His steps were a bit shaky, but he still managed to catch Yi Dingdang before she hit the ground. He staggered back a few steps before stopping. However, he did not care about himself as he impatiently asked, "Dingdang, how are you?" Yi Dingdang opened her eyes and smiled faintly. She stared at Tang Zheng, her eyes filled with satisfaction and longing. She stammered, "I did my best." A stream of hot tears rushed into Tang Zheng's eyes. His voice was a bit choked as he hurriedly nodded and said, "I know. You did very well. You won the bet and saved me. In the past, it was always you who saved me from danger. This time, I finally saved you." Yi Dingdang said with a smile, but her eyelids quickly closed. Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. He hurriedly shook her and shouted, "Dingdang, you can't sleep. You have to hold on. I'm so tired. I want to sleep." Yi Dingdang murmured as if she was sleep-talking. "Your embrace is so warm. I want to lie in your embrace forever. I told you to lie down. Don't sleep. You can lie down for as long as you want." Tang Zheng was really flustered. He was out of his wits. Originally, victory was in sight, but after a series of twists and turns, it turned out like this. No matter how much he calculated, he did not expect this. Then I'll lie down, for a long time, for a long time. Yi Dingdang closed her eyes. Tang Jing seemed to have gone crazy. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared, "Dingdang, you can't die. You haven't beaten me yet. Didn't we make a bet? You have to beat me and then I have to admit in front of everyone that you're better than me. You haven't done this yet. Nothing can happen to you." Tears welled up in his eyes. The heavens seemed to sense his sorrow. A bolt of lightning suddenly lit up in the dark clouds. Then, the sky was completely filled with lightning. It was as if the lightning wanted to tear the sky apart. Boom! The thunder rumbled and shook the world. The earth seemed to tremble. Whoosh! The majestic rain fell from the sky, as if the heavens were crying. Tang Zheng was instantly drenched like a drowned rat. The rain and tears mixed together, and the salty taste slipped into his mouth and covered his eyes. Ah! Suddenly, he let out a long howl. His howl contained endless anger and grief. He suddenly stood up with Yi Dingdang in his arms. Chapter 467. When Song Hanjun saw the expression in Tang Zheng's eyes, his heart pounded wildly as a sense of fear welled up in his heart. How can this be? How can I be afraid of him? Right now, he's just an ant waiting for me to trample on. How can I be afraid of him? Song Hanjun hurriedly consoled himself. But his heart was still unsettled. This won't do. If anything happens to Yi Dingdang, Tang Zheng will definitely seek revenge on me. This is too troublesome. Since I've already injured Yi Dingdang, then I'll go all the way and kill everyone here. That way, no one will know about this matter. Song Hanjun gnashed his teeth as he thought to himself. Tang Zheng glared at Song Hanjun, his eyes spitting fire. Song Hanjun, you're too despicable. You've clearly lost the bet, but you still want to act. I swear I won't let you off. If anything happens to Dingdang, I'll definitely use your life as a sacrifice to Dingdang. When Song Hanjun heard this, the killing intent in his eyes grew even more intense. Qin Badian also regained his senses as he roared with deep hatred, Song Hanjun, to think that you're a member of the Song family. You can't even afford to lose, and even despicably deal with a member of the younger generation. Truly despicable. Everyone under the heavens will look down on you. Song Hanjun's face turned ashen. Nonsense. Who I am is not for you to judge. Chu Xiaofeng was originally overjoyed when he saw Yi Dingdang win the bet. But in the blink of an eye, Song Hanjun actually added another move in his rage, causing the situation to change completely. This change was definitely beneficial to him. Thus, he couldn't wait to say, "Uncle Song, these people deserve to die. Keep up the good work and kill them all. This is the best solution." Song Ming glanced at Yi Dingdang, who was in Tang Zheng's embrace, and hurriedly said, "Father, Xiaofeng's words are reasonable. Letting them go is the same as letting the tiger return to the mountain. There will be great trouble." Tang Zheng turned a deaf ear to their words and carried Yi Dingdang out of the room. Yi Dingdang was completely unconscious and needed immediate treatment. When Tang Zheng passed by Song Hanjun, killing intent burst out from Song Hanjun's eyes. With a flip of his hand, a saber light flashed and directly attacked Tang Zheng's vital points. Obviously, Song Hanjun had made up his mind to go back on his word and not abide by the terms of the bet. He was going to kill Tang Zheng without hesitation. Despicable. Stop. Upon seeing this, Qin Badian was enraged. Like a ferocious tiger, his hands formed into claws as he pounced toward Song Hanjun. However, he was still some distance away from Song Hanjun, so there was no way he could save Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was seriously injured and had no way to circulate his true qi to resist. However, he did not dodge as he carried Yi Dingdang. Instead, he acted as if he did not see it and walked away with large strides. Seeing that the saber was about to cleave his head into two, Song Hanjun's face revealed a pleased expression. Song Yu and Chu Xiaofeng also revealed relieved expressions. However, when Song Yu looked at Yi Dingdang in Tang Zhang's arms, she still felt a little pity. She thought to herself, Yi Dingdang is so dead set on following Tang Zhang, how could she not know that her fate is already sealed? Now that she was about to die, it was her choice and her fate. Tang Zhang faced the saber head-on, but the tip of his foot lightly hooked onto the ground. A bright light suddenly flew up from the ground and blocked the saber. A hand firmly grasped the hilt of the sword. This was a broken sword, only half of the sword was left. This was Yi Dingdang's sword, but it was broken by Song Hanjun. However, the broken sword was still powerful. In Tang Zhang's hand, a new wave of vitality burst forth. The broken sword stabbed out again and again, seemingly light and without any power. However, a series of sounds of Dingdang's saber and sword clashing rang out incessantly. Song Hanjuan's saber was unable to get any closer to Tang Zhang. Swish! Suddenly, another sword stabbed out. This time, it was actually aimed at Song Hanjuan's chest from below, as if it wanted to split open Song Hanjuan's stomach. Song Hanjun hurriedly used his saber to block, but at this moment, Qin Badian finally arrived. A pair of claws fiercely clawed at Song Hanjuan's chest. Song Hanjun bent his body backwards, wanting to avoid both Qin Badian's claw and Tang Zhang's sword. Stab! The claws on Song Hanjuan's chest were directly torn apart by Qin Badian's claw. However, Qin Badian's strength had already been exhausted, and he could only watch as his attack missed. Seeing that Tang Zhang's broken sword was also about to be exhausted, Song Hanjun heaved a sigh of relief. A disdainful smile appeared on his face. These two wanted to deal with him? Simply a fool's dream. If Tang Zhang's sword was a little longer, Song Hanjun would definitely have been pierced. However, the broken sword was already broken, and its power was greatly reduced. Song Ming and Chu Xiaofeng almost cheered. They understood that if Tang Zhang's attack missed, what awaited him would be Song Hanjuan's thunderous counterattack. Seeing that everything was already set in stone, some people were happy while others were sad. However, Tang Zhang definitely did not have these two emotions. In his heart, there was only a towering rage and surging killing intent. Suddenly, the broken sword that had already exhausted all its strength broke free from Tang Zhang's grasp and flew forward. All of this happened without any warning. No one had expected that this sword that was at the end of its road would actually shine with vitality, like a withered tree that had come back to life. The broken sword flew straight in, extremely swift and fierce. Song Hanjuan's eyes widened as he roared, "No!" He quickly dodged backwards, but he was unable to dodge this swift and fierce sword. With a flash of sword light, it had already pierced his chest. Song Hanjun let out an earth-shattering scream as he staggered backwards, clutching his chest. Blood flowed out from the gaps between his fingers. Shockingly, there was a broken sword in his right chest. His complexion had already turned pale as he looked at Tang Zhang in shock and disbelief. He roared, "Impossible." However, all of this was already the truth. Tang Zhang did not even look at him as he carried Yi Dingdang and walked past him. Meanwhile, Song Yu and Chu Xiaofeng looked at each other, their faces filled with fear. Seeing Tang Zhang walk over, they did not have the slightest bit of courage to stop him. Although everyone knew that Tang Zhang was already injured, his indomitable aura still made them not dare to underestimate him. Instead, a trace of fear appeared in their hearts. Tang Zhang did not look sideways as he carried Yi Dingdang and walked out of the courtyard. He did not continue to pursue and kill Song Hanjun. Because, he did not have the ability to. The series of attacks just now had already exhausted what little strength he had left. If he continued to fight, he would definitely reveal a flaw. Song Hanjun had taken this sword strike, but it did not hit any vital points. Only his lungs were pierced, and as long as he received treatment in time, his life would not be in danger. However, because of this strike, Qin Badian had once again become the most powerful expert present. Song Hanjun clutched his chest and already had thoughts of retreating. Seeing Tang Jing disappear into the rainy night, he did not have the courage to chase after him. Song Yu and Chu Xiaofeng finally woke up from their daze. Song Yu rushed to Song Hanjun and shouted with concern, "Father, how are you?" Song Hanjun gritted his teeth and said, "I won't die for the time being. This time, I was careless. Let's go to the hospital." After which, he looked at Qin Badian and said, "Today's matter is not over." If Qin Badian wanted to kill the other party, it was not impossible. However, he did not have the determination to do so. Because he was not like Tang Jing, he had too many misgivings. He knew that he was not a match for the Song family. Unless there was no other choice, he definitely did not want to meet them with weapons and completely block all paths. Song Hanjun and the other two also left. Qin Badian stood there in a daze, the scene from before still reverberating in his mind. Tang Zheng was covered in injuries, but he still managed to stab Song Hanjun. This was too inconceivable. Where's Tang Zheng? Yi Dingdang is injured. In this rain, where could he have gone? He immediately chased after him. However, there was only a curtain of rain left in the world, and Tang Zheng's figure was nowhere to be seen. Where did Tang Zheng go? He hugged Yi Dingdang and began to run as if he had gone mad. He ran in the rain with the water blooming around his feet and the rain hitting his body over and over again. It was already the 12th lunar month of the winter. After being drenched by the rain, his body was bitterly cold. Fortunately, he and Yi Dingdang's physique was not bad. Otherwise, just this rain alone would have taken their lives. They finally arrived at the Ya family's courtyard house. Tang Zheng's heart was about to jump out of his throat. His legs had already lost all feeling. The distance of running wasn't long, but it wasn't short either. He was so tired that his bones were about to fall apart. When he knocked on the Ya family's door, he gave the servants of the Ya family a big fright. Tang Zheng was not a stranger, and had been here many times before. The other party had already recognized him, and even recognized Yi Dingdang in his arms. Quickly call for people to save Dingdang. Tang Zheng gasped for breath as he roared. The servants hurriedly led the two of them in. Someone had already gone to inform them. Not long later, a figure darted out from inside at lightning speed. "What happened to my daughter?" Feng Xinyang anxiously asked. Tang Zheng's face was deathly pale. He was trembling and his teeth were chattering as he said, "Dingdang is seriously injured. Quickly save her." Feng Xinyang's face suddenly changed. She took her daughter from his arms and then rushed into the room. At this time, Yi Tianlei also rushed out. When he saw the battered and exhausted Tang Zheng and his unconscious daughter, his face was also very ugly. Seeing that his wife had already carried his daughter to receive treatment, he hurriedly went in front of Tang Zheng and asked, "What happened?" Song Hanjun went back on his word. He didn't keep his word and injured Dingdang. Tang Zheng weakly said. Song Hanjun. Yi Tianlei's eyes flashed with an ominous glint. He gritted his teeth hatefully. This despicable person actually injured my daughter. I definitely won't let him off. I already stabbed him. Tang Zheng said. You injured him? Yi Tianlei was shocked, but immediately felt relieved. Chu Chongyang was defeated by Tang Zheng, so it was not impossible for Song Hanjun to be injured by Tang Zheng. But looking at Tang Zheng's weak appearance, Yi Tianlei asked, "How are you?" I'm fine." As soon as his voice fell, Tang Zheng closed his eyes and softly fell down. He had exhausted all his strength and was physically and mentally exhausted. Finally, he fell down. Yi Tianlei hurriedly supported him and shouted, "Tang Zheng, what happened to you?" Seeing that he did not respond, he hurriedly carried him and rushed into the room. Chapter 468. The Ya family's mansion was in an uproar. When Yi Dingdang and Tang Zheng were sent to their respective rooms, the others also came one after another. Even Yi Xuanji was alarmed. Seeing Yi Tianlei walk out, Yi Tianming could not wait and said, "Tianlei, Why did you bring this person into the Ye family? Don't you know how much trouble he caused today? Yi Meiyu curled her lips and echoed, that's right, are you trying to drag our Ye family into the fire pit? Yi Tianlei's face darkened, and he coldly snorted, could it be that I can just watch him die? Tang Zheng has nothing to do with the Ye family. What does his life and death have to do with the Ye family? Yi Tianming argued. You can do it, but I can't do such a thing. Yi Tianlei said angrily. Yi Xuanji's face darkened, and he shouted, stop arguing. For an outsider, the two of you are arguing. What kind of scandal is this? Are we going to let outsiders laugh at our Ye family? The two brothers immediately fell silent. How is he? Yi Xuanji asked. Tang Zheng is fine. He just fainted from exhaustion. He will be fine after resting for a while. Yi Tianlei said. Yi Xuanji nodded calmly, have you figured out what happened? It's Song Hanjun. He injured Ding Dang. Yi Tianlei said with fire in his eyes. The Song family made a move. Yi Xuanji and Yi Tianming were shocked. They looked at each other. Obviously, they did not expect the Song family to act so quickly. Previously, when the news of Chu Chongyang's death came, Yi Xuanji also had the thought of dealing with Tang Zheng. However, he suppressed this thought and prepared to wait and see. However, the Song family was obviously unwilling to be left behind and took the initiative to make a move. Even Song Hanjun couldn't succeed. This made the two of them even more suspicious. Humph, Song Hanjun is despicable and shameless. He took advantage of the situation but didn't gain any benefits. I heard that he was also injured by Tang Zheng. Yi Tianlei said, venting his anger. Song Hanjun was injured? Yi Xuanji and Yi Tianming's hearts were fiercely shocked. The two of them said in shock, Tang Zheng killed Chu Chongyang and still has the strength to deal with Song Hanjun. This is too unfathomable. The two of them actually felt somewhat fortunate. Fortunately, they hadn't been in a hurry to make a move. Otherwise, they would have ended up like Song Hanjun. That would truly be a joke to others. Don't even mention that he didn't hurt Song Hanjun. Even if he didn't hurt him, Song Hanjun made a move on Ding Dang, so I definitely won't let this go. Yi Tianlei hatefully said. Tianlei, don't act rashly. This matter is very complicated and not as simple as it seems on the surface. Moreover, because of what happened today, the capital will become even more chaotic. At this moment, if you don't see the situation clearly and act rashly, there will only be benefits and no harm. Do you understand? Yi Xuanji warned. But Song Hanjun hurt Ding Dang. Yi Tianlei unwillingly said. Yi Xuanji said with a heavy face, Ding Dang's matter will naturally be settled in the future. There's no need to rush. Yi Tianming glanced into the room and saw that Tang Zheng was lying on the bed unconscious. He had a bright idea and said, since the Song family has spent so much effort to deal with Tang Zheng, and now that Tang Zheng has fallen into our hands without any resistance, doesn't that mean we can use Tang Zheng to make an issue out of it? No. Yi Tianlei decisively objected. Yi Tianming sneered, Tianlei, he has nothing to do with the Ye family. Is it necessary for you to protect him? In short, Tang Zheng falling into our hands is definitely a good thing for us. Whether we hand him over to the Chu family or Wu Zong, it will be of great benefit to the Ye family. If he was handed over to the Chu family, then they would definitely rope in the Chu family. At this moment, the Chu family needed foreign aid the most, and the Ye family extended an olive branch. The Chu family would definitely bite this hook and not let go. Yi Xuanji raised his eyebrows and seemed to be quite moved. When Yi Tianlei saw this, he was shocked and advised, absolutely not, father. Tang Zheng has been kind to the Ye family. Aren't we repaying kindness with enmity? Yi Ku, who had been silent, finally opened her mouth and asked curiously, second uncle, you have always said that Tang Zheng has been kind to the Ye family, but why have I never seen him do anything to the Ye family? This. Yi Tianlei looked at his father. The matter of the life-continuing pill was a secret. Only the people involved knew about it. Even Yi Tianming and the others did not know about it. Yi Xuanji understood Yi Tianlei's meaning and waved his hand, saying, "Don't talk about it. The Ye family and Tang Zheng have nothing to do with each other. There is no grudge between them." His words had already cut off all ties with Tang Zheng. As for the matter of the life-continuing pill, he had also forgotten about it. Yi Tianlei was very disappointed in his heart, but he did not dare to say anything. "Tianlei, why are you still arguing here? Dingdong's injuries are very serious. We are helpless. We must ask the senior king of medicine to come and treat her." Feng Xinyang rushed out from another room and shouted in exasperation. When Yi Tianlei heard this, he did not care about this issue and quickly rushed in. He found that Yi Dingdang had already changed into clean clothes, but her face was getting paler and paler. Her body was shivering and she was unconscious. She was on the verge of death. "Father, you are familiar with the senior king of medicine. Do you know where he is now?" Yi Tianlei asked anxiously. Yi Xuanji said, "The king of medicine is still in the capital. During this time, he has been staying in the palace to treat the leader's illness. I will contact him immediately. I'll go pick him up." Yi Tianlei did not give him any chance to explain. He impatiently rushed out and drove away. Yi Xuanji contacted the king of medicine and explained the situation. Then, he told Feng Xinyang to take good care of Yi Dingdang and return to his room. Yi Tianming, Yi Ku, and Yi Meiyu looked at each other in dismay. Suddenly, Yi Meiyu pointed to Tang Zheng's room and said quietly, "Dad, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Capture him and hand him over to either side." Yi Meiyu's feelings towards Tang Zheng were very complicated. At the beginning, she did not look down on Tang Zheng at all, but after Tang Zheng shone a little bit, she even had the idea of trying to rope in Tang Zheng to be her own subject. However, Tang Zheng did not give her any face at all, causing her to return in failure. Of course, because of this, her hatred for Tang Zheng grew day by day. Ever since his identity as a cultivator was exposed, she had a high-sounding reason to deal with Tang Zheng. This was a rare opportunity, so how could she let it go so easily? Yika's expression changed, and said, "But Grandpa hasn't said anything yet." Yi Meiyu curled her lips and said, "So what if Grandpa hasn't said anything? If we act first and report later, Grandpa will definitely have no objections. Right now, second uncle wants to protect Tang Zheng. Taking advantage of the fact that he is not at home, we will send Tang Zheng out without anyone noticing. When he comes back, everything will be over. What can he do to us? Moreover, I think Grandpa's attitude is also acquiescing, but because of second uncle's face, he can't say it directly." Yi Tianming's expression changed. After a long while, he finally gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, according to what Meiyu said, we will control Tang Zheng and send him out of the Ye family first. Then, we will decide whether to send him to the Chu family or Wuzong." Yi Meiyu was overjoyed and cheered with joy. She praised, "Father is wise, this is definitely one of the wisest decisions you have ever made." Kacha. As soon as her voice fell, a bolt of lightning flashed across the night sky, illuminating the faces of the three people. Yi Tianming's heartstrings trembled, and he suddenly had a bad premonition. It seemed that this decision would cause a great disaster. He glanced at the dark clouds in the sky and muttered, "Why is the weather getting weirder and weirder? There is still thunder and lightning in the winter." He shook his head and drove away the messy thoughts in his heart and said, "Yi Ku, you go and do this matter. Be careful not to let outsiders know. As for Tianlei, when he comes back and asks, just say that you don't know. Just treat it as if Tang Zheng woke up and left by himself." "Yes, I understand, and I will tell the servants to directly say that Tang Zheng left by himself. There will definitely be no flaws." Since her father had made up his mind, Yi Ku would no longer object and strive to do this matter perfectly. Yi Tianming looked at Yi Ku approvingly. His son's mind was still very meticulous, and he considered the problem thoroughly. He could be of great use in the future. Tang Zheng disappeared. He was put in the car by Yi Ku and disappeared in the rainy night. Not long after, Yi Tianlei returned with King of Medicine. King of Medicine immediately started treatment for Yi Dingdang. Yi Tianlei and Feng Ximiang anxiously waited outside the door and kept pacing back and forth. How is the little handsome brother? Suddenly, Feng Ximiang asked casually. He is lying in bed in a coma. I don't know if he woke up or not. Yi Tianlei said as he directly went to the room, but when he saw the empty room, he was stunned for a moment, and immediately roared in anger, Where is Tang Zheng? The servant hurriedly ran over and said with trepidation, He woke up by himself and then left. Left? He was injured, why didn't you stop him? Yi Tianlei asked. The servant panicked and said, We don't dare. Yi Tianlei coldly snorted and knew that it was useless to investigate. He was just worried about where Tang Zheng had gone. It was raining heavily outside. What if he encountered an enemy? But at this time, going out to find him was like looking for a needle in a haystack. It was useless. Yi Dingdang was still receiving treatment, and he was also unable to do anything. Feng Ximiang saw her husband come back with a livid face. She quickly asked about Tang Zheng's situation, but was told that he had left on his own. Feng Ximiang immediately frowned and said in bewilderment, Why would the little handsome brother leave without even saying goodbye? This isn't his style. Maybe he hates it here, so he left without saying goodbye. The next time we meet him, we will thank him together. Yi Tianlei said. Feng Ximiang's heart was in a mess. Her heart was worried about her daughter, and she really did not have any extra thoughts to carefully figure it out. This storm was the heaviest winter rain in the capital in 20 years. The city's filth was washed away, and many conspiracies were hidden in the rain. A car stopped in a quiet place. Yi Ke held the phone and sat in the driver's seat. Her face was dignified and said, Father, you mean to inform Chu family and Wu Zong about Tang Zheng's news? Make 2 deals? Yes, anyway, they want to get rid of Tang Zheng quickly. In this case, give this good news to them. 1 business to earn 2 benefits, maximize the benefits, and let them take Tang Zheng's little life together. Yi Tianming said. Sure enough, he is an old fox. He is so smart. Yi Ke's heart was secretly convinced. This move is still good. You wait in place and don't move. They will come to you. Yi Tianming warned. Chapter 469. Yi Ke sat in the driver's seat and turned her head to look at Tang Zheng, who was lying in the back seat and could not move. His expression was very complicated. He had no direct conflict with Tang Zheng, but the appearance of Yi Tianlei interrupted his established steps and original life. Yi Tianlei returned to the Ya family, and the position of the next head of the family was undecided. Who would be the next head of the family? The more he thought about it, the more uncertain he was. From the time Yi Ke could remember, he was destined to become the successor of the 3rd generation of the Yi family. He had always been strict with himself, unlike Chu Xiaofeng, this kind of playboy, who liked to play with cats and dogs, and was insufferably arrogant. He was conscientious and prepared for his future. Even when Yi Tianlei had just returned to the Ya family, he did not feel an obvious threat, but since the appearance of Tang Zheng, Yi Tianlei's limelight gradually flourished. Yi Ke finally felt threatened, so she couldn't wait to inform her father, Yi Tianming, to return to China. Tang Zheng caused all this to have a qualitative change. Therefore, his feelings about Tang Zheng were very complicated, and he muttered to himself, Tang Zheng, don't blame me. All this is not what I want, but I have to do it, for the Ya family, and for myself. Dong dong. The car door was knocked, and Chu Xiaofeng's face appeared in front of the window. Plus, you came quite quickly. Yi Ke got off the car. Chu Xiaofeng's face was gloomy. This matter was really full of twists and turns. He originally thought that it was hopeless to get rid of Tang Zheng, but he did not expect that Tang Zheng actually fell into the hands of the Ya family, and the Ya family was willing to offer him with both hands. Of course, the Ye family refused. Chu Mingxian was preparing for Chu Chongyang's funeral, so he specially sent his son, Chu Xiaofeng, to come and receive Tang Zheng. According to their intention, since Tang Zheng had been captured, they would bring him to Chu Chongyang's coffin and use his blood to pay tribute to Chu Chongyang. Chu Xiaofeng stared at Tang Zheng in the back seat with fire in his eyes and said, "The Chu family will remember this matter." He opened the car door and dragged Tang Zheng out. Seeing that he had no intention of immediately solving Tang Zheng, Ye Ku asked, "What are you going to do?" "Of course we'll bring him back and kill him." "You still want to bring him back?" Ye Ku's face sank. Her and Yi Tianming's intention was to let the Chu family and the martial organization deal with Tang Zheng together, so that they could sell two favors. Now that the people from the martial sect had not arrived yet, he could not let the Chu clan take him away just like that. "Of course." Chu Xiaofeng frowned. "Is there a problem?" "There is no big problem, but the martial organization's people will come soon. You can take him away together." Taking advantage of the situation, Tang Zheng lay in her arms. His tall body hit her chest, and the two people were closely pressed together. Her heart could not help but shake. Chu Xiaofeng saw the cooked duck fly away. He glared and roared, "Give him back to me." Marshall did not talk nonsense with him, and directly offered him a roaring flame blade. Chu Xiaofeng retreated in embarrassment. He could only stare like a tiger watching its prey, but he did not dare to come forward to grab people. Marshall prepared to leave with Tang Zheng. Ye Ku finally couldn't help but ask, "Are you going to deal with him? This is not a problem you should care about." Marshall did not look back and disappeared into the pouring rain with Tang Zheng, leaving the two people looking at each other, not knowing what to do. Chu Xiaofeng glared at Ye Ku and said, "You shouldn't have told this news to that smelly woman." Ye Ku looked embarrassed. She and Yi Tianming originally hoped to maximize the benefits, but they did not expect Marshall to not play according to the routine, and instead provoked Chu Xiaofeng. He could not let his hard work go to waste, and quickly advised, "Marshall will definitely kill Tang Zheng, and it can be considered as revenge for the Chongyang family head." Humph. Chu Xiaofeng was non-committal, snorted angrily, and turned away. Although Chu Xiaofeng was very unwilling, he believed that Tang Zheng was indeed dead, but not in his hands, but in the hands of Marshall. Would Marshall kill Tang Zheng? Of course not. He looked at the unconscious Tang Zheng and muttered to himself, "You are really too unexpected. You actually did such a big thing. I'm afraid that the capital will not tolerate you. The sect master has always wanted you to go to Marshall. It would be better to take this opportunity to take you there." However, she immediately remembered Tang Zheng's attitude towards this matter, and was somewhat shaken. The sect master had once told her not to force Tang Zheng, and that everything had to be done voluntarily. If she took him away at this moment, it would definitely not be his original intention. Marshall thought hard, and denied this point after a while. Tang Zheng was already unconscious. Where would the original intention come from? Moreover, this was also to protect him. Marshall smiled proudly, very satisfied with the excuse he found. However, the smile did not last long. In an instant, it disappeared completely, and his face became very dignified. More than 10 people walked out from the corner of the street, each holding an oil paper umbrella. Raindrops fell on the oil paper umbrella, and a curtain of water hung on the edge of the umbrella. Marshall looked at the more than 10 people and asked, "Who are you?" "Hee, Marshall, don't you recognize me so quickly?" A familiar voice floated out from under the oil paper umbrella. The umbrella gently lifted up, revealing a beautiful face. Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian was smiling as he looked at Marshall, and his gaze lingered on Tang Zheng, who was in her arms. He smiled like a flower and said, "You acted really quickly. He actually fell into your hands." Back then, the two of them had not seen each other since they parted ways in the 10,000 huge mountains. However, Li Xiaotian had brought so many people to this moment. "Get out of the way," Marshall said expressionlessly. Marshall's smile did not diminish as he asked, "May I ask, what do you plan to do with him?" This is a matter of the Marshall sect. You don't need to care. Marshall replied coldly. Li Xiaotian shrugged and said, is that so? However, the information shows that during this period of time, you and him have always been at odds. It doesn't seem like the Marshall sect's attitude towards cultivators. This is really strange. Could it be that the Marshall sect has changed its tradition and instead of killing cultivators, it provides protection? Marshall's heart skipped a beat. The Li Palace's intelligence system was truly all-pervasive. The relationship between the two of them in the capital was actually not hidden from their eyes and ears. Nonsense. Marshall immediately retorted, he could not let the rules of the Marshall sect be broken. The Marshall sect has always viewed cultivators as their mortal enemies. How could they provide protection for them? Oh, is that so? Then kill him now and I'll believe your words. Didn't the Marshall sect do this in the past? Capture a cultivator and directly cut him in half, clean and tidy. Li Xiaotian put on a fake smile, but his words were filled with a strong killing intent, causing people to tremble in fear. Back then, Li Xiaotian was still chatting and laughing with Tang Zheng, and even experienced the mysterious things in the Buzhou mountain together. But now, she actually had the intention to kill Tang Zheng. This matter had changed so quickly that it was truly unexpected. It was no wonder that Tang Zheng had always regarded her as a black-bellied girl. Li Xiaotian's attitude towards Tang Zheng had changed so much that it was inseparable from the trip to the 10,000 huge mountains. It was precisely because she had witnessed the strength of the 100 Transformation Star Lord that she understood how powerful and terrifying cultivators were. Now, her attitude towards cultivators had changed from indifference to wanting to kill them quickly. It was simply a replica of the previous Marshall sect. Marshall frowned and said, you don't have the qualifications to tell me what to do. Get out of the way, or else I won't be polite. Is that so? Hee, I know you're very powerful, so I came prepared. Li Xiaotian waved his hand forward, and the others immediately walked towards Marshall. A sharp aura gushed out and interweaved in the air. The speed of the rain falling from the sky actually slowed down, and the oil paper umbrella in their hands started to spin faster and faster. Marshall's pupils constricted, and said, 12 people, is this the famous 12 palaces of the Li Palace? Hee, since you know him, then please enlighten me. Li Xiaotian said with a smile. Chapter 470. The 12 of them moved in one breath, as if they were one person, quickly surrounding Marshall and Tang Zheng in the center, the oil paper umbrella quickly spinning. So. The sound of breaking air rang out, the raindrops were like bullets shot out from a gun barrel, covering the sky and covering the earth as they flew towards Marshall. Marshall raised his eyebrows, his entire body emitting killing intent. He stomped on the ground with one foot, causing the raindrops to fly up. As if they had a life of their own, they soared into the air. Marshall waved his hand, and a scorching wave of air rushed out in all directions. These water droplets seemed to have turned into small flames, quickly colliding with the raindrops that were like bullets. Bang bang bang. A series of explosions rang out. But before these sounds disappeared, the 10 of them moved like the wind, quickly changing their positions, and the encirclement became smaller and smaller. Whiz! An oil paper umbrella suddenly pierced out, straight for the space between Marshall's eyebrows. Marshall's expression did not change. He used Roaring Flame Blade. In an instant, all the raindrops falling from the sky evaporated, and this Roaring Flame Blade met the oil paper umbrella. The oil paper umbrella was blocked and bounced back, but the Roaring Flame Blade did not take advantage of the opportunity to pursue, because the other 3 oil paper umbrellas attacked at the same time. Furthermore, the attack was 10 plus or minus, and the position of the attack was completely different, the top, middle, and bottom 3, with tacit understanding, murderous intent. Marshall immediately dealt with it, escaping from the 3 consecutive attacks, but the attacks of the 12 palaces were endless, one move after another. It was too much for the eyes to take in. Marshall's cultivation had already increased from the 1st grade natal stage to the 3rd grade natal stage. His fighting strength had soared, and he was not flustered by the continuous attacks. Instead, he was able to deal with them with ease. This battle was extremely intense, both sides had their own strengths, danger surrounded them, and the battle was difficult to determine. Li Xiaotian watched coldly from the sidelines. Unknowingly, she frowned and muttered, "The last time we met in the 10,000 Great Mountains, she was only at the first grade natal stage. Why is it that the fighting strength she is displaying has already surpassed the first grade natal stage, and even the second grade natal stage?" In this period of time, Li Xiaotian had returned to Li Palace, and cultivated tirelessly. She had also gained some benefits, reaching the second grade natal stage, but she did not expect Marshall's cultivation to completely surpass her. This puzzled her no matter how she thought about it. But so what if he's a third grade natal realm warrior? The 12 Palaces' battle prowess can completely crush a third grade natal realm warrior. The 12 people from the 12 Palaces were all first-grade Xiantian realm cultivators, and each of them was only in their 20s. They were only a few years older than Li Xiaotian. To be able to have such a cultivation at such a young age, they could be considered to be quite capable. However, these people had a fatal flaw. Li Palace had used a secret method to cultivate them to become experts. In other words, according to their true talent, it was impossible for them to reach the first grade of the Xiantian realm at their age. However, Li Palace could use a secret method to achieve this. However, there was a saying, pulling the shoots to help them grow. Although their cultivation could be improved quickly, their future achievements would not be great. They would be stuck at the 5th grade of innate realm for their entire lives, unable to reach the peak of martial arts. Their individual strength wasn't great, but when the 12 of them worked together, their battle prowess soared. This was the power of the 12 Palaces. Their battle would be coordinated with a formation called the 12 Palaces Killing Formation. This formation could stack their strength and finally achieve the goal of killing enemies with higher cultivation than them. Change formation. Li Xiaotian coldly shouted, and the movements of the 12 people changed in an instant. Their footsteps became faster, and like a business, wisps of smoke floated around Marshall. Marshall hugged Tang Zheng with one hand and was no longer able to fight. She pulled out her belt and tied Tang Zheng to her back. With Tang Zheng on her back, she looked at the enemy without fear. Li Xiaotian felt Marshall's determination and said, "Marshall, why are you so stubborn? Kill Tang Zheng and we will leave. We will definitely not make things difficult for you." Li Palace and Marshall Organization were after all members of the 3 mysterious organizations. Unless there was no other choice, Li Xiaotian did not want to shed all pretense of cordiality. Marshall bit her lips, took a deep breath and said, "With me here, if you want to kill him, you have to ask my roaring flame blade first. You are very clear on the power of the 12 Palaces. You are not their opponent. Even if you continue to fight, you will only lose," Li Xiaotian advised. Marshall stared angrily, her eyes were firm and did not speak. Li Xiaotian already understood Marshall's thoughts. Today, there was no way to get the best of both worlds. Thus, he clenched his teeth and said, "Then there is nothing to talk about. Attack." The attacks of the 12 Palaces suddenly became even more fierce. If it was a storm before, then it was now a tsunami. Wave after wave of attacks were like monstrous waves crashing towards Marshall. Marshall was like a small boat in the ocean, floating and sinking, resisting with difficulty. Marshall was very clear on the strength of the 12 Palaces. She was not their opponent, but she would not admit defeat. Not only was this related to her pride, it was also related to the honor of the Marshall Organization. How could the people of the Marshall Organization admit defeat to the Li Palace? That way, she would not have the face to see the sect master. Even if she died in battle, she would not hesitate. From the corner of her eyes, she glanced at Tang Zheng, who was hanging his head on her shoulder, and thought, "Tang Zheng, it seems like we are going to die together today." For some reason, the charming scene in the 10,000 Great Mountains appeared in her mind. However, she immediately restrained her thoughts and faced the enemy's attack. Wu's roaring flame blade had already reached the point of perfection. Unknowingly, her palm had turned red, like a red-hot soldering iron. Streams of hot air rose up, and the rain in the sky turned into steam before it even landed on her palm. In an instant, steam lingered around her, as if it had turned into a fairyland. Unknowingly, the rain stopped. However, the sky was still dark and oppressive. Furthermore, there were flashes of lightning in the clouds, as if they could fall at any time. Move after move of the roaring flame saber illuminated the pitch-black night, as well as the 12 zodiacs opposite them. The oil paper umbrellas in their hands were already in tatters. The surface of the umbrella had completely disappeared, leaving only the bamboo pole of the umbrella. And this was not the main pole of an ordinary umbrella. Instead, it was an iron rod. It was very slender, just like the slender waist of the 12 palaces. Every iron rod was shining with a cold light. It was a sharp weapon used to take a person's life. The 12 iron rods advanced and retreated at the same time. There were many changes, making it hard for people to guard against. Puff! One of the iron rods pierced into Marshall's arm, bringing about a trace of blood. Marshall's eyebrows trembled slightly, and then she counterattacked without saying a word. After a successful attack, the opponent did not give chase and retreated unscathed. However, there were people attacking from other directions. This repeated over and over again. Marshall's defeat gradually became apparent. There were a few times when the iron rod was about to pierce Tang Zheng's back. Marshall suddenly turned around and used her own body to block it. Because of this, her shoulder and abdomen were injured. Blood flowed out from her body and fell to the ground. It mixed with the rain and seeped into the ground. Marshall's expression did not change. She was as firm as a rock. Li Xiaotian sighed and said, "Why are you doing this? He is a cultivator and you are a martial artist. You are natural enemies. Why are you not hesitating to sacrifice your own life for him?" Marshall did not know the answer. She only knew that Tang Zheng was extremely important to the martial sect. Furthermore, it was more likely that he was the sect master's descendant. How could she let anything happen to Tang Zheng? Take her down. Just don't kill her. Li Xiaotian gave the final order. The attacks of the 12 palaces became more and more unpredictable. Suddenly, an iron rod pierced through Marshall's shoulder. A few people flashed behind her and grabbed Tang Zheng. With a fierce pull, the belt broke and Tang Zheng was separated from her body. Marshall seemed to have gone crazy. She did not care about the pain and roared, "No!" Her hands quickly grabbed the iron rod on her shoulder and slashed at the iron rod with her roaring flame blade. Kacha! The iron rod broke into two. She grabbed the half of the iron rod that pierced her body and pulled it out without hesitation. She threw it forward. Puff! The iron rod was still stained with her blood. It accurately shot into the throat of a 12 palaces woman. She immediately fell to the ground and died. With one person dead, a flaw appeared in the 12 palaces killing formation. Its power was greatly reduced. However, Tang Zheng was already snatched away. It was almost impossible for Marshall to snatch him back. Wu's face was ashen as he stared at Li Xiaotian in anger, and said, "Return him to me." Tang Zheng had already fallen into Li Xiaotian's hands. Seeing that he was unconscious, Li Xiaotian's expression was complicated. He thought to himself, if not for the fact that I had seen so much in the prehistoric heavenly tomb in the Buzhou mountain, I wouldn't have had the heart to kill you. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for being a cultivator. However, if I kill you like this, the whereabouts of the heaven-shocking bow and the shooting sun arrows will be unknown. Li Xiaotian had always been thinking about these two divine weapons. Back then, Tang Zheng had only given her one shooting sun arrow, and she cherished it a lot. If she could take these two divine weapons for herself, her strength would really increase rapidly. But if I don't kill you while you're unconscious, when you wake up, you'll definitely have many ways to escape. Li Xiaotian was also a brave and scheming person. He did things cleanly and efficiently. Since he recognized the threat of Tang Zheng, then even if he had to give up the two divine weapons, he had to kill him. Seeing the dense killing intent in Li Xiaotian's eyes, Wu Xian's heart was in a mess, and continued to shout, "Put him down." Li Xiaotian suddenly raised his head, the corner of his mouth raised into a smile. He looked at Wu with interest and said, I don't know what exactly the martial sect is planning to do to him, but if I can ruin the martial sect's plans, then it will be a happy thing. Furthermore, if I kill him, no one in the world will say anything, because this world is the world of martial artists. Of course they won't stand up for a cultivator, don't you think so? If you kill him, then you will be the enemy of the martial sect. The sect master will definitely not let you off. Wu did not dare to tell the truth. Otherwise, if the world knew that the son of the martial sect master was a cultivator, it would be the biggest joke in the world. The prestige and reputation of the martial sect would plummet and fall off the altar. This was an unacceptable result. Even if Wu wanted to protect Tang Zheng, he did not dare to reveal this matter. Chapter 471. Li Xiaotian suddenly grabbed Tang Zheng's neck. The powerful force was determined to break his neck in one go. Don't. Marshall subconsciously shouted to stop him, but it only attracted Li Xiaotian's cold smile. Boom! Suddenly, the sound of thunder in the sky caused the heaven and earth to tremble. Lightning tore through the night sky, illuminating the heaven and earth in a pale white. Whoosh! A ball of flame fell from the sky. It was as if a horn was blown. In an instant, dozens of balls of flame fell from the sky. Li Xiaotian's hand involuntarily stopped. He raised his head and looked at the sky in shock. What's going on? Balls of fire actually fell from the sky. Before Li Xiaotian could react, a few balls of flame fell in their direction. Li Xiaotian hurriedly shouted, "Dodge!" He grabbed Tang Zheng and dodged to the side, but a girl from the 12 zodiacs was one step slower and was touched by the flames. It was as if she was drenched in gasoline. With a single touch, she turned into a large fireball in the blink of an eye. This flame was very strange. In less than a minute, that person was burned to ashes, leaving only a mournful scream that still echoed in everyone's ears. The 12 zodiacs lost 2 members. The power was greatly reduced. The key was that everyone was looking at the sky in shock, not knowing what was going on. Roar! Suddenly, 2 roars sounded in the sky, only to see the dark clouds rolling, the flames and lightning reflecting each other. The scene was terrifying. Li Xiaotian temporarily forgot about Tang Zheng in his hand. He stared blankly at the black clouds, muttering as if he was sleep-talking, "Demon beast, it's a demon beast." Demon beasts appeared in the sky above the capital, and it was not 1, but 2. These 2 demon beasts were fighting fiercely. However, the fire at the city gate affected the fish in the moat. The flames falling from the sky immediately ignited the houses on the ground. Fortunately, this area was not bustling, and because it had just rained, the houses were wet, weakening the power of the flames. But even so, 2 houses were emitting billowing black smoke. Many people were rushing out of the buildings, screaming in panic. Wu Yi looked at the sky in confusion, but in the next moment, she retracted her attention and looked at Tang Zheng. Whoosh! A figure flashed. Marshall was like a cool breeze, directly arriving in front of Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian reacted quickly. The tip of his foot touched the ground and quickly retreated, while the other helpers also quickly stood in front of Li Xiaotian to protect him, blocking Marshall's attack. Li Xiaotian came back to his senses and said, "The world is really in chaos. Such a powerful demonic beast actually appeared in the capital. A long night without sleep is full of dreams. I will kill Tang Zheng right now." Li Xiaotian tightened his grip, and Tang Zheng's neck made a cracking sound, as if his bones were breaking. Marshall's eyes were about to split open, and Zhuang Ruo roared crazily, but to no avail. Just at this moment, a bolt of lightning and flames simultaneously landed on Li Xiaotian's position. Li Xiaotian hastily reacted, and missed the opportunity to kill Tang Zheng. Li Xiaotian stomped his feet in hatred. He raised his head to look at the sky, only to see the black clouds dissipating, revealing the 2 colossal creatures hiding behind the black clouds. Li Xiaotian could not help but exclaim, "Thundercloud beast." Yes, one of the colossal creatures in the sky was the thundercloud beast, and the other colossal creature was a pair of fiery red wings. The big bird spat out flames, dyeing the sky red. The thundercloud beast was not to be outdone. Lightning covered the sky as it fought with the big bird happily. What kind of demonic beast is this big bird? This question popped up in Li Xiaotian's mind, but in an instant, her attention shifted to Tang Zheng in her hands. Since the thundercloud beast had appeared in the capital, if she did not immediately get rid of Tang Zheng, then there would be no chance. If Tian Chanzi also appeared, then she would not have the chance to escape. But when she reacted, it was already too late. The thundercloud beast in the sky had already discovered Tang Zheng on the ground, and could not help but widen its eyes. It roared towards the sky, and like a whirlwind, it descended from the sky, heading straight for Li Xiaotian. The 12 zodiacs hurriedly blocked, but only saw a flash of lightning, and 10 people were immediately entangled by the lightning, turning into charcoal and falling to the ground. The thundercloud beast completely disintegrated the famous 12 zodiacs, and sent out a bolt of lightning, heading straight for Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaotian let out a strange cry, threw Tang Zheng towards the lightning, and quickly retreated. She knew that it was already too late. With the protection of the thundercloud beast, she would not be able to harm Tang Zheng. Just as the lightning was about to hit Tang Zheng, the lightning disappeared without any warning, and the thundercloud beast's claws grabbed onto Tang Zheng, sending him to lie on its back. Marshall was not unfamiliar with the thundercloud beast. Seeing this situation, he could not help but heave a sigh of relief, then fiercely stared at Li Xiaotian, gritted his teeth and said, "Li Xiaotian, I am not done with you." Li Xiaotian was unmoved, and said, "If you want to deal with me, then wait until next time." Before she finished speaking, she glanced at Tang Zheng, and unwillingly turned around and ran. She knew that she was not a match for Marshall, and was even more not a match for the thundercloud beast, so it was better to leave first. Chirp. With a bird cry, the big bird flapped its wings and swooped down, spitting out another stream of flames from its sharp beak. Then, they blocked the people who were watching the show. These few streets were immediately sealed off and became a temporary military restricted zone. Armed soldiers guarded every intersection, and even the police were not allowed to enter. A few military personnel walked in. The person in the lead was Major General Xing Feng, who had met Tang Zheng once in Dianan, and beside him was Kai Guibin. Xing Feng had a deep relationship with the Long family. Back then, he had informed Long Xianyuan and revealed Tang Zheng's whereabouts, but in the end, Tang Zheng had escaped unscathed. However, because Xing Feng had dealt with the demonic beasts, he was directly transferred from the Dianan military district to the capital military district. The officials attached great importance to the appearance of cultivators and demonic beasts. Although it was a secret, they had already started to make preparations internally. Among them, a new organization called the Dragon Group was established to deal with this kind of troublesome matter. Because Xing Feng had relevant experience, he was temporarily transferred to the position of team leader of the Dragon Group. Although he was only a team leader, he had the right to report to the highest leader of the country. Therefore, Xing Feng could be considered to have been promoted. Kai Guibin had also risen in rank. He had already been promoted from captain to vice division commander. It could be said that he had completed a huge leap in his life. However, no one expected that not long after the establishment of the Dragon Group, 2 demonic beasts would appear in the capital without any warning. What kind of place was the capital? This was the central hub of a country. It was like the heart of a person. Yet, such a huge situation had occurred here. That would be a dereliction of duty for the Dragon Group. Therefore, Xing Feng and Kai Guibin's expressions were not very good. They took large strides, and many soldiers followed in an orderly manner. The two of them looked at the scene in the sky. Xing Feng's face was ashen as he said, "Think of a way to get them down first." In the sky, under the watchful eyes of everyone, what other secrets could there be? It will only make things worse. Kai Guibin nodded his head in agreement. He waved his hand behind him, and a few fully armed people quickly walked up and stood at attention. "Go, get them down," Kai Guibin ordered. Yes. This group of people accepted the order without any hesitation, as if they completely ignored the huge monster in the sky. They were not afraid at all. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, flames shot out from the backs of these soldiers. They soared into the sky like rockets. They actually flew. Chapter 472. After these soldiers soared into the sky, they floated in the air with the two beasts. The thundercloud beast and the flame bird also noticed these uninvited guests. They immediately looked up to the sky and roared. Lightning and flame attacked these soldiers. These soldiers were all well trained and nimbly dodged. Then, with a flash of fire in their hands, special bullets were shot out. The flame bird did not put the other party in its eyes. It opened its mouth and flames filled the sky. Bang! 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 A few bullets were wrapped in flames and quickly exploded. A strange scene appeared. After the bombs exploded, cold air gushed out. The cold air quickly spread in all directions and the flames were immediately extinguished. Even the air in the sky was frozen, forming an ice fog. There were a few bullets that dodged the flames and shot towards the flame bird. Bang! The bullets exploded on the surface of the flame bird's body. The cold air leaked out and the flame bird's feathers were immediately frozen into ice. What's going on? The flame bird was shocked and screamed, flapping its wings fiercely. Gotcha! The frozen feathers were like ice, fragmented and shattered. In the blink of an eye, they were shattered into pieces and scattered all over the sky. The flame bird's shrill screams resounded through the sky. It angrily spat fire at the soldiers. One of the soldiers could not dodge in time and immediately turned into a ball of fire. However, the soldiers did not retreat. Instead, they fought bravely and the accuracy of the bullets became higher. After a while, the flame bird's wings were frozen into ice. The thundercloud beast was not in a hurry to attack. It was also shocked by this sudden scene. The two beasts had never seen this kind of method and did not know how powerful technology was. Xing Feng was finally able to hold his head high. Last time, even the tanks were not able to do anything to these beasts. This time, the military's newly developed secret weapon was indeed extraordinary. Turning his gaze, Xing Feng stared at the thundercloud beast. Looking up from the ground, he could not see Tang Zheng on the back of the thundercloud beast. Xing Feng made a prompt decision and ordered in high spirits, "Deal with the other guy who is shooting lightning. Shoot them down for me." The soldiers immediately changed the direction of their attack. A few bullets flew towards the thundercloud beast. The thundercloud beast quickly flapped its wings. Whoosh! A strong wind blew, and many of the bullets were blown away. With a flash of lightning, a large net of lightning appeared in front of the thundercloud beast. When the bullets hit the net, cold air filled the air, and the net quickly disintegrated. The thundercloud beast was furious. It roared and a bolt of lightning descended from the sky. The two soldiers were instantly struck by the lightning and turned into charcoal. This completely infuriated Xing Feng. He immediately ordered, "Kill them. Kill them all." The sky immediately turned into a battlefield. Lightning, flames, and ice intertwined. It was incomparably tragic. Because the flaming bird was already injured, it flew shakily. Its movements were obviously restricted. After taking a few more bullets, one of its wings was already broken. If it wasn't for the ice sealing his blood vessels, it would have rained blood on the spot. Even so, the firebird's combat power was greatly reduced. Bang! Suddenly, there was a muffled sound as another bullet shot towards the flaming bird. The flaming bird couldn't dodge in time and could only spit fire in response. The bullet exploded, but this time, it wasn't cold air that gushed out. Instead, it was a large net that caught the flaming bird. Chirp! The flaming bird let out a shrill cry, and the large net flickered with lightning. It was obvious that the large net itself was electrified. The flaming bird kept struggling, but its struggle was getting weaker and weaker. It was obvious that the lightning was working. Seeing this, the thundercloud beast's heart trembled. Moreover, it was carrying an injured soldier on its back. It immediately flapped its wings and flew away. "Catch it!" Xing Feng saw this and hurriedly shouted. The soldiers rushed up with booster rockets under their feet, wanting to stop the thundercloud beast. However, it was all in vain. The thundercloud beast wasn't injured at all. Although it was afraid of the bullets, these people couldn't stop it if it wanted to leave. Seeing the thundercloud beast disappear into the sky, Xing Feng unwillingly stomped his feet. He scolded, "Are you all useless? You have such powerful weapons in your hands, but you can't stop a monster?" The soldiers were dejected, but no one dared to talk back. Seeing this, Kai Guibin persuaded, "Team leader, calm down. Everyone has done their best." Xing Feng couldn't disrespect his adjutant, so he nodded with a sullen face, "Don't do it again. Go back and study the tactical problem. Think clearly about what to do next when we encounter these monsters." The soldiers gratefully looked at Kai Guibin and hurriedly retreated. The flame bird fell to the ground and was dragged into a huge truck and taken away. Clearly, the flaming bird couldn't escape the fate of being used as an experiment. Although Xing Feng felt a little regretful, he was still happy. Because this time, the flaming bird was clearly more powerful than the previous ones. It had more research value. Although the dragon group couldn't shirk the responsibility of such a huge disturbance in the capital, Xing Feng had been a government official for many years. He knew the principle of turning bad things into good things. This could be seen as the first operation since the establishment of the dragon group. Furthermore, the results were quite good. He could report this to his superiors to cover up the mistakes of the dragon group. Thinking of this, Xing Feng's face relaxed, and there was even a trace of joy. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed as he stared at the graceful figure in the distance. "Why is she here?" Kai Guibin also saw Wu, and his heart skipped a beat. He said in a low voice, "Team leader, she is from the martial sect. Don't act rashly." Since they were the two officers of a special organization like the Dragon Group, they definitely knew about the three big organizations. They couldn't help but fear the martial sect. Isn't the martial sect always in charge of hunting cultivators and demonic beasts? They must have been attracted by the two demonic beasts in the sky. Kai Guibin found a reason for Wu. Xing Feng snorted coldly, and said, "Last time, didn't she get together with that Tang Zheng? Didn't they say that the martial sect was ruthless to cultivators? Why is she so special to Tang Zheng? Could it be she left the martial sect?" Kai Guibin immediately denied it. "Impossible, the martial sect is not an ordinary organization, the members are all very loyal, and betrayal means death, no one would do such a thing." Xing Feng was just casually saying it, of course he knew this, but he was still brooding over Wu Jiao's attitude last time. Because, from the beginning to the end, Wu did not give him any face. Furthermore, he was also very puzzled as to why he was still alive and well even though he had leaked Tang Zheng's whereabouts last time. This didn't make sense. Only the people involved knew about the battle between Tang Zheng and Long Xianyuan. Even if Xing Feng scratched his head, he still couldn't figure out the reason behind it. In the future, when the dragon group grows stronger, what martial sect, it won't be a problem. If they dare to act recklessly, we will still take care of them. Xing Feng thought to himself. She did not expect the military to come over and capture a demonic beasts at lightning speed. She looked at the other party with a complicated expression. She did not know why the military's strength would increase so quickly in such a short period of time. Of course, she did not know what the power of a country was, or what the power of a country's machinery was. When this big machine felt threatened and started to operate quickly, the power that it burst out was unimaginable. Moreover, today was different from the past. Technology was different from the past. After the power of technology was displayed, it was truly hard to imagine. The secret weapon this time, those special bullets, were the result of science and technology. The corpses of werewolves obtained last time and the demon beasts captured from the 100,000 mountains were greatly beneficial to the relevant research departments. Thus, they developed weapons that specifically targeted demon beasts and cultivators. After the bullet of this kind of freeze gun exploded, it could quickly release a cold air that was close to absolute zero, thus achieving the goal of freezing the target. Marshall stared at the freeze gun in the soldier's hand, not saying a word. In the past, she had always thought that the three big organizations were the strongest forces in the world, and even the country had to fear them. Now, it seemed that she had underestimated the power of the country. This was no longer the ancient times, and it was not an era where a few powerful individuals could control a country. Marshall seemed to be deep in thought, but he did not continue to stay. Instead, he chased after the thunder cloud beast with large strides. "Stop!" Suddenly, Xing Feng shouted. Marshall stopped in his tracks, frowned and stared at him, asking, "What is it?" In the future, Marshall's sect should not cause trouble in the capital, or else the dragon group will definitely not be lenient. Xing Feng felt that it was necessary to clarify his attitude to the other party. Dragon group? Marshall looked at him suspiciously. "Yes, the dragon group that I lead specializes in dealing with you people who are not ordinary people. If I catch any evidence of your crimes, I will definitely punish you severely," Xing Feng said firmly. Wu rolled his eyes at him and said coldly, boasting shamelessly. After saying that, his figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. Xing Feng flew into a rage. "What kind of attitude is that?" I think it's not just cultivators. These martial artists are also the root of the problem and must be eradicated. As the saying goes, heroes use martial arts to break the law. These people's unstable nails must be removed one by one." Kai Guibin's expression was somewhat ugly as he awkwardly said, "Leader, there are many martial artists in the army, so martial artists are not the root of the problem." Xing Feng was not a martial artist, but he also realized that his words were too broad, so he added, "I'm talking about these unrestrained martial artists. Of course I'm not referring to the elite martial artists in our army. Moreover, the research department is currently researching a new drug, which is said to be extracted from those demonic beasts. After our soldiers are injected with those drugs, they will no longer be afraid of those demonic beasts." Kai Guibin hesitantly said, "This method might not work, right?" What's wrong with that?" "Let me tell you, the intelligence shows that the Atlantic Empire has been researching this kind of divine medicine, and the super soldier plan has been carried out for many years, but there has been no results. But this time, our country is ahead of them, and in the future, our super soldier will definitely sweep the world, and no one will be our opponent, and our dragon group will become the most powerful organization in the world." Chapter 473. The thunder cloud beast pressed down on the cloud and landed in a remote forest in the suburbs. It shrank its body again and patted Tang Zheng's face with its claws. "Tang Zheng, wake up quickly." After a while, seeing that he didn't respond, the thunder cloud beast smacked its mouth in surprise. "He is injured and unconscious. What should we do? Should we save him? If we don't save him, who will deal with the 100 Faces Star Lord in the future?" This time, the thunder cloud beast was ordered by Tian Chanzi to report the situation to Tang Zheng in the capital. On the way, it happened to encounter the flame bird. The thunder cloud beast was no stranger to the flame bird. They had crossed swords in the 100,000 mountains. Seeing the flame bird acting sneakily, the thunder cloud beast became suspicious. In the end, it followed the flame bird all the way to the capital. Unexpectedly, it was discovered by the flame bird. The two sides met and fought. During this time, the thundercloud beast finally figured out one thing. The 100 Faces Star Lord had already gathered most of the demonic beasts in the 100,000 mountains and called these demonic beasts master. The flame bird had submitted to the 100 Faces Star Lord. The two sides fought with all their might, resulting in lightning flashes, thunder rolls, and a storm. But who would have thought that because of this, the thunder cloud beast would coincidentally meet Tang Zheng and even save him? The thundercloud beast was originally subdued by Xiao Bai and was tied to the rope of Tangjing. Just like what the flame bird said, if it was caught by the 100 Faces Star Lord, it would definitely lose its life. Although the thundercloud beast was a monster, its intelligence was not lower than a human's. Of course, it understood the seriousness of the matter. The flame bird sneaked into the capital. It must be up to something. I wonder what secret mission the 100 Faces Star Lord gave it. The thundercloud beast tilted its head and was puzzled. In the end, it had no choice but to focus on Tangjing. Let's wake him up first. The thundercloud beast opened its small mouth and spat out an inner core. The surface of the inner core was intertwined with lightning. The inner core floated above Tangjing's head. A small lightning bolt jumped down from the inner core and landed on Tangjing's body. Lightning flashed, and the lightning immediately wrapped around Tangjing, crackling non-stop. However, Tangjing was not injured in the slightest. His expression was serene as if he was in a deep sleep. The sky was turning bright, and the lightning on the surface of the inner core was getting weaker and weaker. The thundercloud beast was obviously very tired. It opened its mouth and swallowed the inner core into its stomach. He's fine now. The thundercloud beast muttered tiredly as it lay beside Tangjing. Suddenly, its ears perked up as it vigilantly looked at a large tree in the distance. Who is it? Come out. The thundercloud beast shouted warily. She had spent a lot of effort to find the thundercloud beast and Tangjing. When she saw the scene just now, she guessed that the thundercloud beast was treating Tangjing's injuries, so she did not appear to disturb him. It's you. The thunder beast wasn't unfamiliar with Marshall, just that it didn't have a good impression of him, full of hostility. Marshall lightly said, I am not your enemy. Aren't you from the Marshall sect? The Marshall sect is our enemy. The thundercloud beast obviously knew about the matter between the Marshall sect and the cultivators, so it had a bad impression of him. Marshall remained calm. It's true that I'm from the Marshall sect. If you hadn't saved Tangjing, I would have killed you right now. Huh, you want to kill me? What a joke. Are you my match? The thundercloud beast said in ridicule. Marshall's eyes turned cold as killing intent leaked out. He asked, Are you sure I can't kill you now? The thundercloud beast's heart trembled. Just now, in order to heal Tangjing, it had already used up too much of its innate qi. It was no longer a match for Marshall. Seeing that the thundercloud beast was speechless, Marshall did not press on. Instead, he asked, When will he wake up? Anytime. The thundercloud beast said snappily. With that said, Tangjing slowly opened his eyes. The attention of the man and the beast was immediately attracted. Marshall asked with concern, Tangjing, are you all right? Tangjing sat up, looked at her suspiciously, and said, I'm fine. He only felt that he had fainted in the Ye family, but why was he in the wilderness with Marshall? However, his gaze was quickly attracted by the thundercloud beast. He asked in surprise, Didn't you leave with Tian Chanzi and the others? Why are you here again? It's a long story. The thundercloud beast sighed with emotion. Then we'll talk about it later. Tangjing waved his hand and stopped it. He turned to look at Marshall. What's going on? I believe you can give me an answer. You were betrayed by the Ye family. The Li Palace also wants to kill you. Marshall said calmly. What? Even though Tangjing's nerves were thick, he was still shocked by this news. However, he knew that Marshall was not like Li Xiaotian, who was full of lies and did not speak the truth. Moreover, there was no need for her to lie to him. I fainted in the Ye family. If it wasn't for the Ye family betraying me, how could I have left the Ye family and appeared here? Tangjing muttered to himself. I'm sure you've already guessed it. It's Yi Tianming. Marshall added. Tangjing's brows flashed with killing intent, and said in a deep voice, Other than him, Yi Dingdang's family of 3 will definitely not betray me. You're quite confident. What about Yi Xuanji? Is he involved? Tang Jing asked. I don't know about that. Tang Jing started to think. The situation was getting more and more complicated. It seemed that his relationship with the Ye family had really come to an end. What should he do? Go back to the Ye family and denounce them? What a joke, the other party could directly deny it. Moreover, Yi Dingdang's family of 3 sandwiched in the middle was the most difficult. Yi Dingdang was deeply in love with him, how could he push her family into a dilemma? Thinking of this, he suppressed the anger in his heart and decided to temporarily ignore the Ye family. The Ye family was a harmless problem, but now the Li Palace wanted to kill him. Wasn't this kind of thing done by the martial organization? When did the Li Palace start to meddle in other people's business? I'm sure it was Li Xiaotian who personally took action. Tang Jing asked. Your guess is very accurate. I even suspect that you were unconscious before. Marshall joked. But it was repelled by you. It wasn't me. Marshall shook her head and pointed to the shrunken thundercloud beast. It was him. Although you were unconscious for a short time, many things happened. I believe you will be interested. Marshall did not hide anything. Not only did she tell him about the battle between the thundercloud beast and the flame bird, she also emphasized the performance of Xing Feng's team. Dragon Group. Tang Jing frowned deeply, and exclaimed, the officials actually established such an organization, and they even have the new weapon you described. Even such a powerful demonic beast like the blazing bird was captured alive, truly a scholar who has been away for 3 days. I have to look at you in a new light. He still remembered the scene when he met Xing Feng in Dianan. At that time, he was in complete control of the situation. He did not expect that the officials would not catch him, but instead create this dragon group. It seems that not only do I have to be careful of the Li Palace, I can't even lower my guard against the officials. Tang Jing rubbed his nose and laughed self-deprecatingly. Are you afraid? As long as you return to the martial organization with me, no one can hurt you. Marshall advised. Tang Jing laughed involuntarily. You are very good at persuading people. If I go to the martial organization, maybe no one can deal with me. Of course. Don't look at how happy these people are. Would anyone dare to go to the martial organization and ask for someone? That's purely because they don't want to live. Marshall said confidently. Tang Jing obviously understood this point, but he still shook his head and refused without hesitation. Thank you for your good intentions. Marshall's face dimmed, but then his fighting spirit rose. I said that I would wait until the day you go to the martial organization. I will not give up. Tang Jing shrugged, speechless. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Tang Jing said. Now that the pool of water in the capital has been blown up, be careful not to turn it into a big wave that will push you to the bottom. Also, Chu Chongyang is dead. The balance of power in the capital for so many years will quickly be reshuffled. You better pray for yourself. Marshall reminded. Thank you for your reminder. Tang Jing did not even turn his head. The thundercloud beast quickly followed, and when he was sure that Marshall had been left far behind, he asked in a low voice, Thundercloud beast, how are Tian Chanzi and the witch clan? They have already found the monastery. The small country over there is in turmoil. Whoever is strong will be able to stand firm. No one is their match. The thundercloud beast said proudly. Tang Jing believed in their strength. Moreover, with Tian Chanzi, who had lived for thousands of years, dealing with them, he could indeed guarantee their safety. The 100 Faces Star Lord has already gathered all the demonic beasts in the 10,000 huge mountains. Although I don't know what he plans to do, it's definitely not a good thing. The thundercloud beast said. Tang Jing's heart trembled. The name 100 Faces Star Lord meant unknown danger. Since he had gathered all the demonic beasts, then the world would truly be in chaos. However, Tang Jing's current strength was still lacking, so it was of no use. If necessary, we can leak some information to the officials or the martial organization and let them investigate the 100 Faces Star Lord. Tang Jing pondered. Thundercloud beast, go back and tell Tian Chanzi to act according to the plan. For the time being, hold back the troops and accumulate strength. When necessary in the future, we will take advantage of the situation. Do you understand? Tang Zheng instructed. Yes, I understand. However, Tian Chanzi has been talking about finding the heaven and earth obsidian all day long. I wonder if you have any clues? The thunder cloud beast asked casually. Tang Zheng's heart thumped. Of course he had clues about the heaven and earth obsidian. Who knew how many pieces were buried in the imperial city? There were also some in the southern sea dragon palace. However, he was not prepared to tell this secret to anyone, not even Tian Chanzi. He understood the importance of the heaven and earth obsidian. This was related to the secret of the heavens beyond heaven. It was also related to the problem of whether or not the cultivators would return. Tian Chanzi wholeheartedly wanted the cultivators to return. However, Tang Zheng was still indecisive. He was afraid that the cultivators would set off a reign of terror in this world. The heaven and earth obsidian must be in my hands first. I can only take it out when necessary. Tang Zheng made up his mind and decided to continue keeping this secret. Tian Chanzi also asked me to tell you another thing. He is worried that you will encounter a lot of trouble in the capital. Furthermore, the four symbols Venerable and Xiao Bai will not be able to make a move most of the time, so he found you a helper. The thunder cloud beast said. Helper? Yes, he said this helper is called Huang Ziang. Huang Ziang. Tang Zheng suddenly realized. Chapter 474. After the thunder cloud beast left, Tang Zheng also understood the problem with his helper, Huang Ziang. Back then, Tian Chanzi did not bring Huang Ziang out of the capital, but left him at a pass 100 kilometers north of the capital. This pass was a place that the military would fight for in ancient times, and only in modern times did it gradually become desolate. However, because that pass had experienced too many wars, countless people had died, and the Yin Qi was dense. Even in broad daylight, the Yin Qi was dense, and there were few people there. This place just so happened to be Huang Ziang's blessed land. Huang Ziang had been turned into a puppet by Tian Chanzi, and the denser the Yin Qi was, the faster his cultivation would increase. This time, he had been left at that pass for such a long time, so he didn't know how much his strength had grown. Tian Chanzi reckoned that Tang Zheng lacked helpers, so he sent a letter to him to bring Huang Ziang out. Tomorrow is the final exam. After the exam, we'll go to that pass. Tang Zheng returned to school to prepare for the final exam, but at this moment, the Yen family welcomed an uninvited guest. Yen Padian personally welcomed them at the entrance. It was extremely grand. Yen Qishan and Yen Luyun stood on his left and right, but Yen Qingyi was not present. Normally, she would be cultivating in the Daoist temple. Li Xiaotian strolled over. Her face was as calm as an ancient well. No one could see through her thoughts. Saintess, your presence brings light to my humble abode. Yen Padian greeted him with a smile. Logically speaking, with Li Xiaotian's cultivation, he would not be able to withstand such a huge battle formation from the Yen clan. However, she was the holy maiden of Li Palace, and if nothing unexpected happened, she would inherit the position of Palace Master of Li Palace in the future. Furthermore, the Yen family had always had a close relationship with Li Palace, so of course they would show the importance they deserved. Li Xiaotian nodded slightly, but did not say much. The guest and host passed through the layers of courtyards and arrived at the main hall to take their seats. Li Xiaotian went straight to the point. Elder Yen, I have something to trouble you with this time. Holy maiden, there's no harm in saying so. Yen family being able to share the burden of the Li Palace is our honor. Yen Padian said amiably. Help me kill Tang Zheng. Li Xiaotian said murderously. The three generations of the Yen family all revealed shocked expressions at the same time. Yen Padian hurriedly restrained the strange expression on his face and asked, could it be that this person provoked you, holy maiden? Li Xiaotian shook his head. This person will be a big problem in the future. We have to get rid of him before he spreads his wings. The Yan family had previously heeded Yan Qingyi's suggestion and intended to help Tang Zheng, but they had not expected that the Li Palace would actually make this decision, which was completely contrary to the Yan family's decision. Yan Qishan and Yan Liuyan's expressions were somewhat unnatural. This time, the Yan family was in a difficult situation. Yan Patian remained calm and said, Tang Zheng is no longer the same as before. Chu Chongyang has just been eliminated by him, and his morale is at its peak. I'm afraid this matter will not be easy to handle. Wrong. It was precisely because of his battle with Chu Chongyang that he was severely injured that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. However, right now, he is together with the martial sect, which is why it is somewhat difficult to handle. Li Xiaotian retorted. If the 12 palaces had not been completely destroyed, she would not have needed to ask the Yan family for help. At this moment, it was already too late to return to the Li Palace to get reinforcements. Moreover, if she did not complete this mission, she would definitely be reprimanded by the Asgard Master when she returned. How could she return empty-handed like this? The relationship between the Yan family and the Li Palace was not shallow. Asking the Yan family for help was giving them a chance. The Yan family would definitely seize this opportunity impatiently and deepen their relationship with the Li Palace. But unexpectedly, Yan Patian did not immediately agree. Instead, he became silent. Li Xiaotian looked at him in astonishment, and the atmosphere instantly became strange. You don't agree? Yan Patian did not comment and said, Holy Maiden, since you have no way to deal with him, what can we do? This was clearly an excuse, even a fool could hear it. Yan Qishan turned pale with fright. He did not expect his father to reject Li Xiaotian so firmly. This would definitely harm the relationship between the Yan family and the Li Palace. Father. Yan Qishan impatiently called out, wanting to remind his father. Yan Qishan purposely glanced at Yan Qishan. Yan Qishan's heart trembled, and he subconsciously kept quiet. Obviously, Yan Patian had already made up his mind. He actually did not hesitate to reject the request of the Li Palace and wholeheartedly protected Tang Zheng. This was truly a bold move. Yan Qishan fell into a state of panic. He did not know why his father would actually make such a huge bet because of an illusory prophecy in the future. Li Xiaotian's gaze was like lightning. He saw the father and son's reactions one by one. He was furious in his heart, and asked with a cold face, Are you purposely avoiding it? Yan Patian said with a fake smile, Holy Maiden's words are too serious, we really don't have the strength to catch him. Actually, I think that dealing with Tang Zheng, the Li Palace is still very easy, why bother with our help, don't you think so? I will tell your attitude to Asgard Mistress. She will judge for herself. Li Xiaotian never expected that he would be rejected here. Yan Patian sighed and said helplessly, Our intentions towards the Li Palace will never change. I hope that Asgard Mistress will know our painstaking efforts. She will naturally know. Your Yan family is really good, humph. Li Xiaotian stood up and walked out. Yan Qishan immediately followed, and said, Holy Maiden, I'll send you off. After the two of them left, Yan Luyun asked suspiciously, Grandfather, why did we reject the Li Palace's request? If we don't refuse, are we really going to send someone to kill Tang Zheng? Yan Patian asked as he looked at him with a burning gaze. Yan Liuyan's heart trembled. He knew that this was the old man testing him, but he was still unable to see through the old man's thoughts, so he probed, Grandfather, if we don't deal with Tang Zheng, then we will offend the Li Palace. This might not be a good deal, right? You said that even the Holy Maiden of the Li Palace had to seek help from the outside, and the Yan family rashly rushed forward. What benefits could they possibly gain? Yan Patian asked. This. It is indeed strange. If the Li Palace wants to deal with Tang Zheng, why would they need someone else's help? Yan Luyun revealed a puzzled expression. So, we have to use our brains and think about it. This matter is not as simple as it seems. Yan Potion's gaze was like a torch as he nodded his head and said. Yan Luyun seemed to be deep in thought. Yan Qishan walked back and asked anxiously, Father, why did you reject her? Was it really necessary to tie the Yan family and Tang Jing together? This is offending the Li Palace, not as simple as offending the other families. Yan Padian shook his head and said, You are really muddle-headed. How can I be at ease and hand over this huge family to you in the future? However, Yan Qishan did not compromise and argued, Father, in any case, I don't understand this matter. At this time, befriending Tang Zheng is far more dangerous than rejecting the Li Palace. Yan Padian slapped the chair and shouted, Short-sighted, let me ask you, what Tang Zheng did, which one of you can do it? Yan Qishan and Yan Luyun looked at each other in dismay, but they were unable to answer. They were indeed unable to do what Tang Zheng had done. But after doing all this, he became the target of public criticism. Now, even the Li Palace sees him as a thorn in their side. Yan Qishan reminded. Then do you remember what the Holy Maiden said just now? Tang Zheng and the martial sect were together. Although the martial sect hated cultivators to the bones, they obviously did not plan to deal with Tang Zheng. Furthermore, the intelligence showed that martial sect had always been in contact with Tang Zheng. This showed the martial sect's attitude towards Tang Zheng. For a cultivator to be able to make the martial sect have such an attitude, do you think it's simple? Yan Padian asked with a powerful voice. Yan Qishan was speechless. After a long while, he said unwillingly, but it wasn't easy for us to get on the Li Palace's good side. Now, it seems that all our previous efforts will be ruined. Yan Padian let out a long sigh, and said, If you gain something, you will definitely lose something. I have a feeling that Qin Yi's prophecy might really be correct. Yan Qishan's heart skipped a beat. If that prophecy was true, then Tang Zheng would save tens of thousands of people from water and fire in the future. It was hard to imagine what kind of turmoil would occur in the world. In short, pay close attention to the situation in the capital. Last night, even demonic beasts appeared. Although the officials have already refuted the rumors, I feel that the day when cultivators truly enter the eyes of the public is not far away. Yan Padian analyzed. Regarding the strange phenomenon in the sky last night, the officials had released a rumor early in the morning, saying that it was the special effects of a film company shooting a movie and not some ferocious beast. Furthermore, the video on the internet had been completely deleted. Although it was still a hot topic, the situation had been temporarily under control. Just as Tang Zheng returned to school, Yi Tianlei's call came, asking about Tang Zheng's situation. Tang Zheng also mentioned the matter of him being betrayed last night. After hearing this, Yi Tianlei was extremely furious, and swore that he would definitely go and settle the score with Yi Tianming. Regarding this, Tang Zheng did not hold much hope, nor did he expect to be able to do anything to Yi Tianming. Moreover, Tang Zheng had too many things to do right now, so he did not have the time to deal with him for the time being. Hearing that Tang Zheng was safe and sound under the King of Medicine's treatment, Tang Zheng was relieved. However, when he heard that the King of Medicine was still in the Ye family, he had an idea and asked Yi Tianlei to tell the King of Medicine to come to Yenqing University for a chat. He believed that this old man would definitely keep the appointment. Sure enough, in the afternoon, the King of Medicine found him. Although the King of Medicine already knew about Tang Zheng's identity as a cultivator, he did not take it to heart at all. What he cared about was the problems in medicine. As for other disputes, he did not care about them at all. Therefore, he gladly accepted Tang Zheng's invitation. There was too much medical knowledge on Tang Zheng that he wanted to know. For example, the life-continuing pill was a secret that he wanted to know. King of Medicine, I want to ask you for a favor. Tang Zheng said straightforwardly, I want to sell the life-continuing pill. The life-continuing pill was too magical. If Tang Zheng directly sold it to the public, many people would doubt its authenticity. However, if the King of Medicine handled this matter, no one would doubt that his authority in this area was much stronger than Tang Zheng's. Moreover, the King of Medicine knew too many people who needed this thing and could afford it, so he had to be the middleman. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.